think about. Does love still exist? Yeah, I have my doubts. On the street, I check out how brothers be living. Yo, let's just say, kid, it ain't no Thanksgiving. We got people shooting dope, ain't never heard of hope. We got others with the gat and the brothers with the fucking scope. As I enter the project center rec rooms, some brothers might see the doom. I see my nigga Paulo, fat pockets of papes. He knows the neighborhood biddies with all the dopest shapes. There goes Rollo with the blowout fro. He's got a gap, ayo niggas gots to go. No show is live with narrate, fuck Memorex. My nigga Rollo's got a gat at Paulo's chest. One slug blasted out, down boy died. Now show me some love, kid, it sounds like a fucking lie. The struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Sometimes I think how the world come to this, a place where every man and woman needs a therapist. Mass confusion, people living in delusion, justify all the bullshit through the Constitution. Meanwhile, the masses struggle to survive. I think we're too busy to hear our people's cries. Singles mothers struggle to raise families, genocide committed through famine and disease. I wonder if these things will ever cease to exist. I know it could if we cease and desist, giving all the power to the industrialists, giving all our power to the damn commercialists that see us just as being sheep in this world, that want us to do what we're told like boys and girls. Oh God, I wanna live another day so I can help provide equality and this day. The struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. Though we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Everybody round the globe, open up your earlobe, your third eye, and then decipher the code. Through knowledge, understanding, then bring love into the concept instead of bling bling. Truth instead of bias, educational methods, twisting, contorting God's message of love for every human being. Listen, motherfucker, don't you hear the screams? It's time to do much more than talk, debate, and spread hate. We need to think and at the same time investigate, understand what our actions may create. Before continuing the cycle we procreate, we can clone humans, but at the same time we can't feed humans. The future of man is actually looming. It's really depressing, it's true. And yes, you know the struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong.
One, two. Yes, it is Tuesday, the 14th, April, 08:59 Central European Time. That makes it 2:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, America. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for finding some of the topics that I bring up interesting. You know, even if they're different, even if they're not the same old topics, you know what I'm saying? Or from the same exact perspective, but I gotta be who I am. I can't be somebody else. I gotta speaketh the truth from where I sit, and that it is what it is. It's always that, you know. I can't speak anybody else's truth but my own. And but in any case, today, you know, is an interesting topic, although there's a whole lot of other shit going on. But we're going to start off with Hungary. And it's really interesting that J.D. Vance would spend his time going over to Hungary, a place that has universal health care. Right. You know, he supports that. He supported Orban, Viktor Orban. Viktor Orban's party supports universal health care. I mean, that didn't make it. That story didn't make it in legacy media. I didn't see CNN or Fox News bring that point up. To be honest, I think Americans are a little bit jaded about shit to bring up sometimes, because a lot of missed opportunities. You have an election coming up, a big midterm election. By the way, Hungary got enough votes. They got 2/3 of the population voting for them, right? And in their electoral system, that means they get to change the constitution. Yes, that's what that means. It's similar to if you get 2/3 of the houses, the Congress or the Senate in the U.S. That means you get to change the constitution then. Yes, you do. And guess what's happening this year? A midterm. But what are we talking about? What are the things we talking about? What is legacy media setting people up? What is Fox and CNN and all these folks setting people up for? I mean, are they really setting the bar low? I mean, you got to ask yourself, because not one legacy media company mentioned that Hungary has universal health care and that even the right wing supports it. Viktor Orban is fucked up as Viktor Orban was, as hateful as he was, as whatever you want to call it, misogynist, anything. He at least supported his nation's people having universal health care and education. I believe it's extended to education too. And it's like that in a lot of right-wing governments, in Europe. J.D. Vance didn't have a problem with that. Trump loved it. Viktor Orban was his best friend. So why is it okay to, mix up with these types that support universal health care, but not support it at home in the United States of America? I mean, J.D. Vance has done this many a time. Why are you coming into places and leaving out how they do healthcare? Why do you leave that out of the story? So J.D. Vance, he didn't want to learn about healthcare in Hungary at all. He didn't want to learn about healthcare in Europe when he came to lecture Europe, at all. Insult them, insult Canada. He doesn't want to know about it. You see what I mean? But it's up to the people to call him on it. Why do you support right-wing governments that support universal health care if you're against it yourself? And the truth is that J.D. Vance is against universal health care. He's against it. Trump is against it. He's already said it. Trump has said it so many times in his own way, but he said it. We don't have the money for child care. We don't have the money for all of this stuff. Well, why do you keep taking the money from people then? How much taxes do you really think Europeans are paying? You really think they pay that much? You really think it's that much? It's not really that much, actually. And when you look at what they pay, they get a lot back for it. Now, the U.S., the Americans, for some reason, don't think they pay a lot of taxes for some strange reason. Like, they don't think they're up in that tax bracket, but the truth is that when you look at it and you compare and you do the data, the United States is up in that tax bracket too, except nobody wants to do anything for the people with that money. Trump said it himself. He wants federal dollars only to go to. Oh, and let me know how the audio is doing too if it's too loud. Trump himself said he wants. Okay, let me adjust it a little. Trump himself said he only wants federal dollars going to the military. Basically, that's what he wants it for wars. Like, straight up, he doesn't want it. You see what I mean? And Eve NY says they can't skim off the money. And this is the thing. Actually, there was a lot of corruption in Hungary, but even with the corruption, everyone still believed in universal health care, right? Now, and the crazy thing also is that in general, corruption, especially in Western Europe, is way lower than in the U.S. There's almost no comparison. The corruption that's going on in the U.S. dwarfs nations. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, it dwarfs alliances corruption. You can add all of the EU together, and the United States corruption is dwarfing it. I mean, Americans experience so much corruption, and yet, I don't know what to say. But in any case, I thought that's an interesting point. J.D. Vance respects Hungary. They made it this White House made it a point to go to Hungary. They made a point to rally for the right-wing government, and even the right-wing government in Hungary supports universal health care. I mean, it's like, what kind of bullshit is this? And it didn't get mentioned in the legacy media. And guess what? There's an election coming up this year. You can get 2/3 of both houses if you have a goal in mind. But if you don't have a goal in mind, or whatever your goals are, you better start talking about it now before the election. You see what I mean? You better start telling the people that and I'm talking to right wing and left wing, whoever you are. I just find those as being words, just like liberal and conservative. They're just words. You need to really listen to the person speaking to really know what it means. You might want something for your tax dollars like everybody else gets. But if you don't say it, you definitely are not going to get it. If you don't focus on the things you want and you don't really know what they are at home, you ain't going to get shit. You're just going to get some new people. So go out there, start investigating universal health care. Ask yourself, if universal health care is so bad, why the fuck does everybody else in NATO have it if it's so bad? Duh, because it's not. Because it's not. You've been duped into thinking that so they can skim off the top. Like Eve said, they want more money for themselves. They don't want to pay it. The billionaires want that money for themselves. It's their corporations. They're the ones owning the healthcare sector. They don't want you to have it at an affordable rate. They're not there to make sure to. You see how the right wing talk in Hungary talks about its citizens? This government in the U.S. doesn't seem to have that level of citizen pride. It's different, it's only some citizens, citizen, meaning you're a citizen. That's obviously what it means. But let's take it further than that. Let's say you're born in the country. Okay, well then scratch that. Let's take it further than that. Let's say your ancestors go all the way back to the beginning of the country, right? They don't believe that people whose ancestors go back to the beginning of the country should have universal health care. They don't even believe that. So the truth is that they're not too patriotic. Americans are not too patriotic because your patriotism can only be judged by how you treat your own fellow citizens. That's it. You see what I mean? It can't be judged any other way. Why would you go abroad and kill some people and then come at home and not give a damn about the people at home? That's what's going on in the United States. The American government, the administration, the politicians do not care about American citizens. They don't. They just don't. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. They don't. And are they pulling up the rear in terms of caring about their own citizens? Yeah. In the Western world, they're pulling up the rear. They're the last to do it. They're still trying to figure out how one citizen is not good enough as the other citizen or doesn't need a fair shot, or how, trying to rewrite history like everyone pulled themselves up by their own pants. If everyone pulled themselves up by their own pants in the USA and got what they needed done, then why the fuck did you have laws against women owning property? Why the hell did you have laws against women even working? Why the hell did you have laws against women even voting if you just pulled yourself up by your own bootstraps? Why did you have laws against Black African Americans voting and owning property if you just pulled yourself up by your own bootstraps? The reality is no one did that in the United States of America. And maybe the people that just came and with a little bit of money or something else may have done that. But even if you think you did it on your own, you didn't. So just scratch it, because that's exactly the attitude that kills universal health care. When you go to other countries where you see universal health care, like Hungary, that is the common denominator. People are together with that. People see that as a form of pride. You see what I mean? People see that as a form of unity. You see? And it's just time we start thinking about that in the U.S. Not thinking about it. It's time we do it. But if we don't talk about it, we're not going to do it. If we don't talk about the worst healthcare industry on earth, because you shouldn't have to waste all kinds of money to make it work halfway good. You see what I mean? It needs to be efficient. It needs to actually be run well, organized so that everyone can get access to it, and it needs to be not cost 5 times more than what it costs someone else just when you cross the fucking border. I mean, it's ridiculous. You see what I mean? It can't cost 5 times more and yet serve far fewer people by percentage. That doesn't make any sense. So somebody's skimming off the top, like Eve NY said. And I really hope Americans decide to do something for themselves this election. I really, really do. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if they are. I don't know if they're going to get distracted. I don't know if they're going to start talking about other things outside of the United States of America. not like education, not like healthcare, not like housing. I mean, I really pray. I really pray. I hope Americans do. I haven't seen them ever do that. I live abroad. I see people talking about this shit every day. Things at home every day in Denmark. You hear people across the West talking about things at home every day in their own country, improvements. Even Hungary the new president is now going to improve on the healthcare system, even though they already have universal healthcare. They have a program to even make it better. You see what I'm saying? And everyone is focusing on their home and their people and in real ways. And, it just makes me wonder. I feel it. I just got to say it the way I can say it. I feel Americans are going to have elections. I feel Americans are going to elect new people, but I feel that Americans are not going to demand from those politicians who they elect that they create that America has standards that apply to the Western world. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, because that's the world you live in. Those are the people Trump called on, allies, right? What the fuck is an ally for? Is an ally only there when it's time for your dumbass to go out and get yourself into a war? Then you call your allies, but your allies can't teach you about education. Your allies can't teach you about fucking healthcare and how to run it better for your people. Your allies can't teach you anything. It's bullshit. American people need to just stop accepting the bullshit. Just stop it. Yeah, Edward Thornton. Thank you, man. I'm glad to see you here too. Yeah, I'm here. Shit, I ain't got nothing to do. I just got home from work, drinking my little latte. Here it is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to talk about this shit because Hungary is the new story, and I want people to have universal health care in the United States. So I'm going to be that one person in podcast media pointing out, and even media pointing out that Hungary has universal health care. I didn't see anybody else say it. No one else has said it. Yo, you got to give me my props. Nobody else has pointed that out. And, I'm going to point it out anyway, even if no one else does. You know what I mean? And I'll take my flowers later. I don't give a damn. I get plenty of flowers for all the other wonderful things I do. But I wouldn't be me if I didn't point that fact out. Like, what's the point in talking about Hungary if I'm talking about as an American, if you're not going to talk about the fact that they got universal health care, and JD Vance made a point to go over to talk to Viktor Orban and help him. And even Viktor Orban believes in universal health care. So there it is. Now people heard it. No Jethro Tull says, I refuse to vote for any pro-Israel candidate. Well, Jethro Tull, I don't know what that really means, but I tell you what, you should, what I tell everybody, you should think like Israelis think and many other people think. They think about their home first. You should do that. That might be wise. That's all I'm saying. Because everybody thinks about their home first and should, and really should. And thinking about your home first could lead you to not be involved in so many wars. Also, you know what I'm saying? Like, straight up, it can have that effect also when you learn how to focus. Don't just focus on what you don't want. Jethro, focus, Americans. Focus on what you do want. Because it's a lot of shit you don't fucking have. You know what I'm saying? God damn. Man, Jethro, here you are. People... Man, if you think the only fucking problem with the goddamn United States of fucking America is that they put Israel first, if you think that's the only problem, it's good that you notice what's going on with Israel, but you might want to notice some other things too, like what went on with fucking Greenland and what's going on right now in Iran. You know what I mean? But you're going to deal with that anyway, right? So, but here's the thing, man. Again, I'm going to say this very clearly. Start at home, because everyone else does. Everyone else is thinking about their home first and what their people need first. Why? Because that is how the system is set up everywhere in the world. You see what I mean? So I'm not saying, that I don't support myself. I don't support that action either, but it's easier for me to say because I live in a country that has universal health care. So the country I live in doesn't have military agreements with Israel. They have aid agreements with Palestine. But but the thing about it is that even Israel has universal health care. So can't you chew bubble gum and walk at the same time? I mean, can't you do one without doing the other? If you had the choice to give up, to have one or two things, to either have universal health care or have the U.S. government stop dealing with Israel, which one would you choose? What if those were the only two choices you had in an election? Which one would you choose? I tell you straight up, I would choose the healthcare one. Why? Because the healthcare one affects everybody in my country, every citizen, and we pay a lot of taxes. So, and a lot of the tax money goes to the healthcare that you can't even access. Even if you don't get the healthcare, you're still paying into it in the United States of America. And I'm not saying, yeah, exactly. I'm not saying I have ill will towards anybody else. I'm just saying, God damn it. Don't just think about yourself, because when it comes to getting something, you're going to have to work with some other people that don't have every single belief you have. That's what I'm saying. And if we just understand that we need to deal with the issues that affect us all first, and that we feel deeply about all of us first, healthcare is one of them. Israel's not, bro. So you're going to get divided on Palestine and Israel. And yeah, maybe that division will stop everybody for saying what we can get is universal health care. But I'm not saying activists shouldn't do their job. And I'm not saying people shouldn't call out AIPAC or people shouldn't call out politicians that continue to blindly, involve themselves with Israel. I think it should all be called out. Me, myself, I wouldn't give them a goddamn penny until Netanyahu is gone. You know what I'm saying? Period. And I wouldn't give them another penny until they start adhering to the goddamn human rights violations that they've been pointed to. They need to, stop having a goddamn prison. They need to stop having an apartheid over there. You know what I'm saying? Apartheid state. And so that's my personal opinion. But if I had to put that aside to get to vote together with some Republicans and everybody else just to make sure everybody got health care, I would. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not ashamed of that because I'm a rational person, because I know damn well that's exactly what everybody else does on earth. They think about their people first, where they are, their home, and they should. Even Iran, you should think about your home, man. You know what I'm saying? Fuck Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, fuck Trump. If we thought more about our home, and did that, maybe we wouldn't have all the time for other shit. You see what I mean? Let me see here. Edward, hold on. Eve New York says Trump wants to get rid of unprofitable debts and Medicare. Exactly, but he want that money. He still wants your tax money, that federal tax money. It's like this guy. Yeah, I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down in history as the one, probably the one American dude in Denmark who's done 1 million podcasts on this topic on healthcare, who said it 1 million times over and over and over again. And maybe Americans just fucking didn't listen like some hard-headed motherfuckers. That's how I'm going to go down. And it's okay. I know some listen. I can only do my part. I can't expect anything. And I don't expect anything. Let me see. Edward said, fun fact, Lego is the company based in Denmark. Iran is using AI to make Lego videos against Donald Trump and the U.S. regime. Lego could sue Iran for copyright infringement. Lego is not going to sue. Yeah, but I think there's already like so many different things going on legally with Iran. Like we have sanctions. A lot of countries still have sanctions on Iran for other reasons, But I hear your point, though. I don't think anybody fucking minds. I don't think anyone. I'm gonna be honest with you. No one cares who is shitting on Donald J. Trump and his administration right now. No one. Nobody. Why? Because Donald J. Trump and his administration shit on everybody else. The only people they haven't shit on is Israel and Putin. Basically, everybody else they shitted on. So it's crazy, and people see that for what it is. So, I was talking to a Danish guy the other day, and he was telling me that who was it actually? But he was telling me we got our own problems at home. We got our own problems. We're not fucking around with Iran. We got our own problems. That's Russia. And they mean that. Like, they have an issue with Russia right now. They're not going to divert to fucking some silly shit with Netanyahu and goddamn Trump. Why? Netanyahu didn't speak up for them. When Trump was talking about attacking Greenland, Netanyahu didn't say, wait a second, no. Instead, he teamed up with Trump. You see what I mean? And this is the kind of bullshit that destroys alliances. And that alliance got destroyed. And it's through Netanyahu and Trump. So everybody else is like, fuck them. Because we need to know the people that we spend time and energy with actually appreciate it. So, yeah. Let me see here. Edward Thornton, for one reason only, Greenland. Let me see. Unveiling penalty for Palestinians only should not be supported. Okay, what is that? Unaliving penalty for Palestinians only should not be. I don't know what that means, man. I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, because I'm not for unaliving Palestinians, and I think there should be penalties, but I'm not sure if you get my point. And but that's okay. But my point is very simple, and we know this. You could have a wish list and you never get everything on your list. It has nothing to do with what you want, but in a democracy, you have to negotiate with other people that might agree or disagree on any amount of topics. And to get things done in a democracy, what happens is when the multitude agree on one thing, those are usually the things that happen. When it's split, those are usually the things that are least likely to happen. That's all I'm saying. So if it's going to come down to voting, the Palestinian Israel thing may be hard to resolve regardless. The healthcare thing, you're probably, if you talk about it the right way, in a realistic way, and inform people and educate Americans about it, and dispose of the lies that are told about it, you might get a lot of left wingers, right wingers, and center people saying, yeah, we need to do something about our healthcare system. It's poor, and why not do the model that others are using because it seems to work? Very simple, and it's cheaper. Very simple. Very simple. You see what I mean? Yeah, there it is. I guarantee you it's going to be split. So, and that means you likely not to, the thing about Israel and Palestine, and that means you likely to not get, if that's the one thing you need first, you're likely to not get that. So that, I'm just saying, but again, opposing it, I think is what people need to do, and people need to speak up. But, 99% of Republicans are right on board with Israel. So you need to understand, you're going to need some Republicans to get health care resolved. Yeah. Or you're going to need enough people voting to vote in some new people, get rid of them. And if you're, this is the thing about it. I see a lot of people that say they're not going to support, when they say they're not going to support anyone who supports Israel or has anything to do with Israel, what they really mean is they're not going to support any Democrats, because they don't have that expectation for Republicans. And this is where the problem is. So let's say Democrats get 2/3 of the vote, right? Of the midterms. They can actually do things with 2/3. But if you say you're not going to support any of them, you got to see how these things break down in the numbers. So, but I think it's normal and rational to think that, to ask any political party or any member of Congress or any member of the Senate, why are you fucking with Netanyahu? Like, Netanyahu disrespected the United States of America, and of course he used Trump, you see what I mean, as his tool to do it. But every American knows Netanyahu doesn't give a damn about the United States of America, because the American people are clearly saying we didn't appreciate that. We don't want it. And Netanyahu went ahead with Trump and did it anyway. So Netanyahu doesn't really care what the American people think. He's not even getting the sentiment of that. You see what I'm saying? And the American people should be offended because your tax dollars have been going to Israel for how long? They should be in line with the shit you want because we're their main supporter. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying change the dialogue, change the wording, make a different argument. Don't just make it so blanket, That's all I'm saying. Like, it's not called Trump. It's not called. Oh, okay. And let me see. Eric Klein. Thailand has universal health care and centralized medical database. One reason people are willing to retire there. Yeah, it's Americans retiring in Thailand. Living pretty well, too. Let me see here. Living pretty well. Americans are retiring in a lot of places, living pretty well outside of the U.S. And I would tell you, do the same thing. Don't waste your time, man, and also encourage your kids to travel because we have the most extremist government in the Western world. You just have to understand that. Extremely extreme and very, very oppressive. That's what I could say. They're just behind everyone else in the Western world. I pay $700 a month for healthcare. Oh, really? Yeah, that's fucking expensive, man. That's expensive, bro. That's expensive. Blockade on blockade is like a gangster movie. Man, exactly. What is it? Now Trump wants a blockade, man. It's all talk. This shit is all talk. I don't get it. What is the point? Trump is contradicting himself, He wants oil prices to go down, but he still wants to be engaged in a blockade. But yet he's mad that Iran is having a blockade, but he wants to do a blockade. It shows you how stupid he is. Trump is essentially admitting that he fucked up the agreement that Obama made, which was stopping Iran from having a nuclear weapon, right? He's just basically admitting it because he has nothing else to play. He has nothing else to do. There's nothing else. He's not even trying. He's given up. The man is just giving up, Let me see here. Edward Thornton sent laughing disco for 250 joules. Okay. Let me see who else here. Let me see. Double tap. Why is the young American supporting a fascist dictator like Orban? Why the hell is JD Vance over there? But listen, Viktor Orban, he supports universal health care for Hungarians. But JD Vance went over there. I mean, this is what I've been telling people. Even the right wing in Europe supports universal health care. And for some reason, the right wing in the U.S. doesn't. Don't know why that is. It sounds like there's something else going on, and it's not patriotism. I could tell you that. Eric, American is a bot coming out of Russia. I'm sure. Eric, the young American is a bot coming out of Russia. I'm sure. Tap their page to see. Yeah, it's always bots in this goddamn place, man. Let me see here. Let me see. Who else can I go to here? Orban is just like Trump. Yeah, Orban is just like Trump. He's a pig, man. But would you rather have a pig that agrees that everyone in your country should have universal health care or a pig who doesn't? It's just straight up, Luckily, Hungary is more progressive than that, than the U.S. right now. Straight up. Hungary's more progressive than the United States of America. I'm going to read some facts about the healthcare system. Let me see here. All right, let me read some facts and then we can go into it. Hungary. Okay. Hungary, both systems are universal, meaning education and healthcare are universal. They are designed to provide coverage and access to all citizens. However, they are structured differently and face distinct modern challenges. Okay. Healthcare system. Hungary operates a tax-funded universal healthcare system managed by the National Insurance Fund. NEAK. Okay. Coverage. It covers 100% of citizens. It is free at the point of use for children, students, retirees, and low-income individuals. Funding. For the working population, it is funded through mandatory payroll contributions, roughly 3% from employees and 15% from employers. Okay. That's kind of how the business tax works there, and the income tax. Access. You are assigned a general practitioner, GP, based on your district. For specialist care or hospital visits, you generally need a referral from your GP, except in emergencies. I really hope Legacy Media asks J.D. Vance about this. What does he think about their healthcare system? But they should have done it already when he was busy supporting Orban. That was the time. Now he can get out of it, you know? Current state. Okay, while the system is comprehensive, it needs some upgrades in its face. But everyone knows that. You know, Hungary is not a rich European country. It's just coming out of out of the Cold War, essentially. You see what I mean? So they're in the midst of building up their economy. And now that Orban is out of there, it's about to become a hub, and boom, you know. But let's go on to the education system. Education is also universal and predominantly public, overseen by the state. Compulsory years. Education is mandatory for children between ages of 3 and 16. This includes OV kindergarten, which is compulsory from the age of 3, ensures social integration. Okay. Structure. Primary usually lasts 8 years. Secondary. Students choose between gymnasium, academic focus, or university prep, a secondary vocational school, or a technical school. Okay, so all of that is part of the universal education there. Higher ed. Most universities are public and tuition free for Hungarian students who meet certain academic criteria, though they may have to pay back the state by working in Hungary for a few years after graduation. Okay, that's a little different. That's not the case in Denmark, but it can be. If you borrow more money, they have a stipend, and then you have the right to borrow more over that stipend, and that money you have to pay back. But you know, it depends on who you are in your own economy and what you want to do, how you want to live while you're in school, that kind of thing, and what education you're taking. You know, trends. There's been a recent increase in church-funded public schools, which now educate a significant portion of the students. While you know, I stay away from that. But in any case. So now people know that Hungary, you know, has universal health care, universal education, and that existed, and it existed under Viktor Orban's regime, and he didn't even make a move to try to cut it or anything like that. No, because even though he's a right winger and an extremist, he's still pro universal health care and education for his citizens, his people. Donald Trump ain't. So, you know, you vote for Trump's ass and you vote for these Republicans if you want. Even if you're an extremist, go ahead, vote for them. See what you get. You know, somebody else gets to be an extremist somewhere else and get more out of their experience. Okay. Just as long as you know that, okay? You see what I mean? You're at the bottom of the barrel of extremists and shit. You're the type of extremists in America that can't even get shit from their taxes. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm serious. Please click the like button. Click the like button, everybody. Take a minute. I'm making some hilarious observations. They're real. They're real observations. I'm not making this shit up. Oh my God. All right, let's hear how Hungary is doing right now. Let's see here.
Very excited. I was waiting 16 years for this day.
I don't know. I hope now change and good change, but not only in Hungary, around the world. This is not normal now.
He had all the opportunities to make Hungary great again. This is a very common phrase now, but he missed this chance, definitely.
Hi again, everybody. It's now 5 o'clock in New York. At times over the past few years, in those darkest moments, it's felt all but inevitable, that methodic, creeping descent into an authoritarian future, not just here in the United States, but around the world. Today, though, just as Donald Trump's vice grip over our American system starts to slip away, people halfway around the world are likewise rejecting those autocratic impulses and tendencies and embracing, or rather re-embracing, a bold new vision. This weekend, against all odds, voters in Hungary ended the 16-year reign of far-right Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Among the reasons it was such a stunning result, and tell us if this sounds at all familiar to you, Orban manipulated the country's election system and initiated a takeover of its media outlets. And yet, this was the scene last night. Among the shouts from the crowd, quote, "Russians go home." Indeed, Vladimir Putin was an advocate for Orban. So too was Donald Trump, who even went so far as to dispatch his vice president, J.D. Vance, to campaign in Hungary last week
diem, I
for
see you.
Orban. Our friend Ann Applebaum put it like this, quote, "Orban's loss brings to an end the assumption of inevitability that has pervaded the MAGA movement, as well as the belief also present in Russian
Carpe diem. Yeah, I was just informing the people that even Viktor Orban agrees with universal health care and universal education for his citizens. That's the crazy shit. So I was just explaining that, you know, the right wingers in the U.S., they're the bottom of the barrel. You know what I mean? They're the type that don't get shit for their taxes and shit. Everybody else that's a right winger in the Western world, they got it good. You know, they get something for their taxes. Their kids go to school. They get universal health care. It's like United States right wingers don't want shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's class. It's class. And I have to say it. And I don't know why no legacy media hasn't talked about this. They haven't connected the dots. That's why. And a lot of podcasters, I mean, listen, I'm the first one to bring the shit up. Even among the podcasters, Midas Touch, all my favorite guys. It's me. Hello. Y'all see me over here doing this shit? Yes, it's facts. You need to do it too, because there's an election coming up. And if you don't talk about universal health care and draw these correlations to show you how full of shit J.D. Vance is and the right wing Republicans in the United States of America, if you don't draw that story and that outline for people, they're not going to vote for it. You need 2/3 of the houses to get it done. OK, that's you can get that done this year. You can even change the Constitution if you get that. So pay attention. Let's pay attention on podcasters. Even if legacy media doesn't, isn't that our job to be the ones to say the facts that are being left out? I think it is. At least I would do.
Putin's rhetoric that illiberal parties are somehow destined not just to win, but to hold power forever because they have the support of quote unquote real people. As it turns out, history doesn't work like that. Real people grow tired of their rulers. Old ideas become stale. Younger people question orthodoxy. Illiberalism leads to corruption. And if Orban can lose, then his Russian and American admirers can lose too. To be clear, Orban's replacement is no liberal. He's a center-right politician. And while he will likely scale back some of his predecessors' more autocratic policies, some things, like Hungary's approach to immigration, will likely stay more or less the same. But the point is this, made so eloquently by historian Tim Snyder, quote, just as Hungary once offered the international oligarchical far right the confidence that a formula had been found, it now offers to men such as Vance and Trump the anxiety that voting might actually make a difference, that democracy might actually turn out to be more than a slogan, that unpredictable change is still possible, that the future is open. That is where we begin the hour. Some of our most favorite experts and friends. Joining us from Budapest, staff writer for The Atlantic, Isaac Stanley Becker is here. Also joining us, senior political analyst, our dear friend Alex Wagner. She reported on the dismantling of democracy in Hungary under Orban for her podcast, Trumpland. She's now a contributing host on Pod Save America and the host of the podcast, Runaway Country. Also joining us, our dear friend, political analyst, former Senator Claire McCaskill. Isaac, because you're there, I'm going to start with you. Tell me what you're hearing and seeing and reporting.
It's been an extraordinary 24 hours. I think the scenes on the streets really say it all in terms of the jubilation, the euphoria we're seeing. Spoke to people last night and early this morning who felt as if they had taken their last chance to really step back from the abyss, that if Orban had been reelected, that would have been it for democracy in Hungary, that he would have continued this kind of consolidation of power, the entrenchment of these patronage networks, crony capitalism, and they would have lost their chance, but they took this chance, and as you said, despite the odds, really showed that voting is still powerful, even in a very unfair system.
You know, with AI,
You can create any character you want in seconds.
This used to require.
Sorry about that, y'all. I just had my hands full for 2 seconds. Let me get this passed. There's some other interesting thing about this. Now Ukraine is basically going to get this money now because it was indeed Orban that was holding up the aid for Ukraine from the EU, like straight up. And so now that's over, and we're going to cover that too. And Putin. I can't believe I called him Hitler, but he's the same basically. Putin is fucking shivering right now, and I've said this a million times. Putin overextends Russia. This is a problem with Russia over and over, and they always do this. They overextend themselves in the globe, and look at what's going on inside of the country, man. Nobody cares about Russian people. Like, there's no one cares. No one even wants to know how they're doing. They're not even in the news media. Have you noticed that? That's a serious sign that something's not right inside of it, but in any case, this totally backfired on Putin, the whole thing. And obviously American citizens have more guns than Chinese citizens and Russian citizens put together. The civilian populations of China and Russia are not really that well armed, not like the U.S. So you can understand why Russia is allowed to have leadership this way, because pretty much nobody's going to do anything about it inside. They're all beaten down and scared. They know the game. You see what I mean? But Putin has failed big time, and he sees Russia. He's from a thought mode in Russia, a thought tank in Russia that sees Russia as an imperial nation, right? And so they always look out to be involved in world affairs. But look at what they've done. They supported. I mean, don't get me wrong. People are going to do this. United States supported Israel. What does that turn to? That may have very, very well. I don't know if you can call it a waste, but it could easily turn to a waste just with one bad move. So these kind of things are precarious. But look at the aid that Russia has given. Look at the fact. Let's flip it around now. Everybody knows Russia's given aid to other groups, right? Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran and this kind of thing. Everybody knows that. Okay. And people pretty much accept it because, of course, they're engaged with combating Israel. So a lot of people don't care about that. And a lot of people are even willing to turn a blind eye to Putin invading Ukraine just because of their allegiance in that way to Putin, because he supports with weapons Hamas and, Hezbollah and Iran. So a lot of people are willing to turn a blind eye. But I say you shouldn't turn a blind eye. Just keep it real. You see what I mean? You don't have to say everything you're involved in is good. And you don't have to pretend like it is. You can still support Ukraine at the same time you support Hamas. You can. Did you know that? It's possible. You know what I'm saying? I do that all the time. And there's a term for it too, by the way. It's called asymmetric politics. You should look it up sometime. You can support anything. See, I support Palestine and Ukraine because I see them as being the same issue. I don't give a fuck who's supporting each side. I choose the victim, the one that's being attacked. You see what I'm saying? So the one that's losing their land, the one that's being colonized, that's the one I favor. You see what I'm saying? So but there's a lot of people that don't do that, for some strange reason. But let's flip it around. Look at the fact that Iran sold drones to Russia and Russia used those drones on Ukraine. Everybody knows this. What interest did Russia have did Iran have in that? And if you look at the fact that they did that unprovoked, that's unprovoked. Ukraine hasn't done anything to Iran. Not at least yet. But you see, it kind of changes the dynamic because, when you're involved in things, it kind of makes it seem like there is some kind of credence to this type of this warfare or this what do you call it, proxy warfare. There's some kind of truth to maybe Iran is not all there, the leadership in their head, because why would they do that? Why would they support Russia in killing Ukrainians? Why would even China do that? Why would China do that? Why would China give Russia bullets to invade Ukraine? What has Ukraine done to China? You know, so I just think it's exactly. You just anti-genocide. Exactly. It shouldn't matter who it's happening to, you know. And I think this is just this kind of shows you that it's not good to invest in those things, actually, because they can turn on you. And this thing with Hungary is turning quick. Is going to turn quick because it literally means Ukraine is about to get an injection of cash that and which is going to turn into an injection of weapons.
Impact, if any, to JD Vance
and defense programs. Like straight up, it's going to mean more defense programs, more defense. And yeah, that's what it's going to mean. So
his visit have
from what I heard, Russia's on the verge of losing even Crimea, just because they don't have the resources to even supply the people with anything, with even food. Yo, like it's terrible, man.
You know, this was a subject of so much fascination and chatter here. You know, in recent days.
Okay, Kevin, I hear you, man. I appreciate you, man. Click the like button. I see you, man. I appreciate you checking my channel out. Subscribe too, if you don't mind. And I appreciate the compliment, man. Thanks.
Spoke to some Western diplomats in Budapest who speculated that it may have backfired for a number of reasons. I mean, the Trump administration's war in Iran is deeply unpopular in Europe. And I think there was also a suggestion made to me that welcoming any foreign leader could have backfired because the whole basis of Orban's campaign was Hungarian sovereignty and nationalism. So why is he campaigning with the vice president of a foreign country? We don't have polling that fleshes this out, but we certainly know that it did not pull Orban over the finish line, which is what Trump and Vance wanted. But I think that it's been, you know, a really hectic couple of days with the results last night and the whole system change. But just to step back and just, you know, remember how unusual that moment was to see JD Vance here. I mean, American vice presidents and presidents just have not done this. They have not traveled to foreign countries at the expense of U.S. taxpayers and campaigned so overtly.
That's because JD Vance is a fool.
Politicians in foreign countries.
I mean, JD Vance didn't even think for himself. You know what I mean? He's just a stooge. He didn't even say, damn, this is not even vice presidential to do this. Since when did we do this? No, he just did it because he's a Trump butt licker, man. He's going to be worse than Trump, I think.
And especially not politicians who also enjoy the support of the Kremlin. It was frankly a surreal scene.
I mean, Alex, it's like the axis of Putin-backed autocrats, and to make that such a public brand and then to have it backfire, it's like the jokes write themselves. How politically toxic is JD Vance? He's so toxic, he dislodged a Putin-aligned...
The jokes write themselves. Straight up. Facts, man. That's some ill shit.
16-year autocrat from Hungary.
Yes. I mean, I don't think JD Vance helped matters. I don't think the war helped matters. But, you know, Nicole, I was there last year, and this is a testament to the tireless and brave work of journalists who basically left consolidated oligarchical state propaganda outlets and formed independent news media outlets and continued the brave work of reporting on the corruption, the breathtaking corruption in Orban's Hungary. It is the work of activists who are out on the streets every week protesting at their own peril amid swarms of riot police, every week saying, we will not stand for this. This is not democracy. We want freedom. Young people who refuse to give up, people who are advocates for a more transparent governance, who are monitoring corruption in terms of the purse strings that Orban controlled and consolidated when he came back to power. I mean, this is the work of grassroots networks that have been operating, honestly, without a lot of money, a lot of attention, and I think not a ton of hope as far as the international community was concerned, but they kept at it. And without their work, without those foundational efforts, this victory wouldn't have been possible. Magyar, I think, seized on really important issues like the quality of healthcare in Hungary, the economy, and Orban's abysmal shepherding of it.
What's
and
up, Midnight?
education, which is also an issue in Hungary. But really, the people that primed the pump, if you will, the people that did the hard work of helping him claim victory, were all these ordinary, everyday Hungarian citizens who just refused to give up. And it is, I think, their win more than almost anybody else's.
Oh, yo.
I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, you can. This is developing. YouTube is developing. It's YouTube is probably the biggest one, man. The biggest platform. The one that is really a lot of the money is circulating around, to be honest with you on that note. By the way, feel free to gift me with anything you want. I take gifts too, but I don't do it for gifts. So, it's just a joke. But if you want to, you can. And it's also welcomed. I will appreciate it. But this is a big day for Europe also. Europe, a lot of people don't understand this. And I really try to speak reason to people that I know, anyone, generally, young people, adults, because, some of us share some madness at times. And me, myself, I keep it really simple. I'm an American. I'm an American, born and raised Washington, D.C., but family goes back to the colonial period on both sides. I have to say that because a lot of people that watch don't always know that, unless I say it right. But as a grown-ass man, I live in Denmark, Copenhagen, Denmark, and I live here. My kids live here. So I don't want someone attacking this place. I don't want someone. I pay attention when I hear about Putin sending doing hybrid warfare, sending drones here, cutting cables in the line, communication cables, and other things, And for people that don't know, the Ukraine is on the front line of Russia when it comes to Europe, when it comes to the EU and Putin, right? And so what goes on there, people don't want invading going on. You see what I mean? Nobody wants invading armies, just invading anybody in Europe. You know what I'm saying? So I understand the relevance. And then when you see the fact that Putin sent his military into Ukraine and just killed people from one day to the next, after telling the world, you crazy, man. The military on the border, we're not about to invade. We just doing a special operation that has nothing to do with invading Ukraine. And then he invaded days later. You have to stand against it. You got to stand against it. And it doesn't matter who won. Jethro said Russia didn't want this war. Jethro, to me, it sounds like you're not talking about the actions. You're talking about their intent. But think about if a racist knocks you upside the head and makes that same argument. Well, it wasn't my intent to be racist. People argue this all the time. Intent has nothing to do. Intent, man. You still got to be held liable for your actions. Fuck your intent. You invaded. Who cares what your intent is? You see what I mean? It doesn't even matter if you wanted it or not. You invaded, period. You can't do it. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. You see what I mean? Just like other acts you can't do. You cannot commit violent acts against people and get away with it. And it's the same with Israel and Palestine. It's the same thing. At some point, it's not about your intent. It's about your actions, right? Because anyone can make an argument for their intent. Anyone can make an argument for that. You see what I mean? And you can't describe what someone else is feeling. You don't know what someone else is feeling. So, let me see here. Cali, Midnight says, I live in Cali and I got free healthcare, and it still bothers me that everyone else doesn't. Yeah, it should bother you because I live in Denmark and I have healthcare. It's not free. We pay for it in taxes, right? But the way it's cheaper to get because we do it collectively here. And, and everyone is covered, and that changes how life works. When everyone is covered by the healthcare system and educational system, that changes how life works, even in Hungary. And so I'm just trying to inform American citizens that if you want to learn how to wake up one day and not be stressed the fuck out, universal healthcare and education is definitely what that's about. Okay, you can solve all your other problems. You know what I mean? From there on and these kind of things, or you can argue about what other issues you got. But, yeah, you know, it should be known that universal health care and universal education solves way more problems than it, you know, it solves a lot of problems than what you might think. You see what I mean? So, yeah, I just really hope Americans think about themselves for a change. And again, I'm not speaking to just like what a lot of people try to come to me. I notice how I've been doing this for a while. So and not just online, but in reality, like dealing with people's perspective on different topics, and you know, as far as human rights and things like this, right? So human and civil rights. But I would say I've learned some things about approaches that people take and arguments that people take, because we debate these arguments all the time and analyze them, you know. And I would just say that people use labels to shut people down. Someone might try to call me a Dem or a liberal so that they don't have to listen to anything I say, because that's their way of running away from the reasoning that I might have, which might be totally different from another Democrat or another liberal. Completely different. So we use labels a lot. And so what I'm saying is that I don't see people that way. Even the MAGA people, at the end of the day, even no matter who it is, if you're talking to an Iranian, you're talking to a MAGA person, or you're talking to someone else, you're going to have to learn how to confront people like adults in a respectful way and have a respectful, real conversation. That's the underlying issue. And if you're not willing to sit down like adults respectfully and talk about these issues in a heart to heart, in a caring way with each other, you may as well throw the rest away. You see what I'm saying? Like, Americans really going to have to need to reach out to each other and reinvigorate or institute a form of unity, you know. So the basic things can get done, because all the division and the finger pointing and the back and forth, not that there's not problems that need to be identified, and there's also bad actors that need to be identified too, but the average American citizen is not that bad actor. You see what I mean? The average American citizen is not Donald Trump. You know, these people will never be allowed in the room with Donald Trump on any day if he didn't need their vote just for one day. You see what I mean? Donald Trump would never be held. So we have to treat these people that voted for him, we have to treat them in a way to where we show we understand that, like, that they were fooled. They were lied to and fooled. And so they just didn't know better. But now a lot of them are knowing it. So we need to get together with them and take care of the things that have been holding us back as a nation. And we need to start with ourselves in that nation. Like, straight up, we need our mothers and our fathers and our children deserve a dignified beginning and a dignified end. You see what I'm saying? Every American is in the richest country in the world. Everyone deserves that. And that can be had with just basics, with just basic cooperation for a cheaper price too, instead of it being all privatized or organized by private industry. See, it can still have private components, but what we have right now is a healthcare system that's organized by the private corporations, basically. You know, let me see. It says MAGA calls us liars when we try to reason with them. Not to my face. Maybe online, and a lot of this stuff online, I keep trying to tell people, yo, start throwing up if you want to have a real conversation and you expect people to conversate with you or take what you're saying seriously, put something on your page about yourself. You know what I mean? Like, straight up, because I don't hide myself with my opinions, you know, and my opinion is going to be the same one in real life. You know, that's why I don't even bother to hide who I am, you know, and I think you deserve respect when you do it that way. You get heard a little bit more when you meet people that way, when people see that you're just not you know, that you're a little different from what they thought on the internet. You know what I'm saying? So but I hear you. People say that on the internet. I see some people they try to argue with me sometimes. I notice a lot of us, we get into conversations not because we want to be in a conversation, because we want to be heard. Wrong. Sometimes I get people to interact with some of my posts, and I can tell by what they write. They just want to be heard. They're not even trying to engage what the post is about. You see what I mean? So the internet is a lot like that. And yeah, you know. But in any case, let's move on. Hungary has this story going on. And JD Vance, you know, he supports Hungary, but now it's over. And he failed. He didn't get his right-wing guy elected again. Authoritarian elected, wannabe authoritarian, Putin's butt licker. He didn't get him elected, but it's worth noting Viktor Orban at least agrees that his citizens should have health care and education universal. Even the right wing in Hungary, even the far right wing believes that their citizens should have health care and education universal on both, you know. But let's hear a little more here. Let's see here. What's going on? I mean, I just find that amazing, you know. I just find it amazing. And I really wonder, like, when are we going to get to where they at? When's the right wing of the U.S. going to get something for their taxes? They're the bottom of the barrel. They're the bottom of the barrel. They're the right wing that don't get shit in the U.S. for their taxes. The right wingers in the U.S. get walked all over by the government. Every other right winger in every other country is enjoying the benefits of universal health care, the benefits of universal education. And these motherfuckers in the U.S., the right wing, they just too fucking dumb. They like being the brokest of the broke right wing. You know, they're going to die for their cause and suffer. If you want to go out like that, you may as well give me the whip so I can whip your ass too on the way. Fuck it. Since you so, you know, into torture. What the fuck? They're into torture, yo. It's called tax torture for nothing.
To hold a referendum, but this can mean that an online questionnaire, so not the ones we've seen that for 20 billion forints they ask nothing, but we can ask the opinion of citizens. I believe that this will give again and again a mandate to the government, not in Brussels to fight, but to bring and make the best decisions. This is what we shall continue. Let me say a few words about foreign policy, because I guess a lot of the press here is interested in this. Hungarian people made a clear decision yesterday. They are proud that we are part of the European Union and NATO. They are proud that for 1,000 years our ancestors, our kings and queens and princes have struggled to be part of Europe. We are proud that we protected the borders of Europe for hundreds of years. All Hungarians are proud of their European identity, and people could see that if this vile propaganda is lying to them, is accusing the European Union and criticizing them that they want war, everyone knows that it's a peace project that was created, the European community, that there should never be a war between the founding member states. And since the EU was created, earlier it was called differently, but there was no war, so Hungarian people could feel and understand that the fact that there is peace today in Hungary is due to a great deal to the EU and NATO. We also see the faults of the EU. 27 member states. It's a large organization, many national interests, party interests, lobby interests. I myself, for 8 or 9 years, I worked as a diplomat in Brussels, as a diplomat of the Hungarian government at the permanent representation, and I could get to know the functioning of the EU. It's a complicated, bureaucratic, seeking compromise, how difficult this is, and also the beauty of this. I can tell you that you can indeed find the compromise. I am here, and I personally, and Hungary is also prepared to create compromises. We shall have debates. I'm sure we will have debates because all member states are there to represent their national interests, the interests of their people, their companies, but we are not going there to fight so that we can fight and then we can write on billboards to the Hungarian people that Brussels is evil and it has to be stopped.
I can promise you that I will always represent the interest of Hungarians, both in Strasbourg and in Brussels, but also in Moscow, in Berlin, or in Washington, or in Beijing, everywhere. I will be very strong and steadfast and honest about the Hungarian interests. And
notice, here's another fact, and this is what we need legacy media, and we need other podcasters to talk about. Again, as I was mentioning earlier, notice how J.D. Vance and Trump didn't call Hungary a socialist country. Notice how they didn't do that. You see what I'm saying? Like, and they need to be called out for that, because Hungary has, even under Viktor Orban, has universal health care and universal education. Yet J.D. Vance happily waltzed his ass over there, right, skipping and shit, so happy, and was willing to support Viktor Orban, who supports universal health care and supports universal education himself. So whatever happened to that socialism thing? You see what I mean? Like, whatever happened to it? Why did they not talk about socialism in Hungary, if that's what socialism is? If having universal health care and universal education makes you socialist, which it doesn't, by the way, only morons think that, right? But because they've been told, maybe not morons, but people that have been misled because just been repeated to them over and over and over. But though there's a lot of people like that too. So it's no pun to them because it's not their fault, right? But if it did make you a socialist, then why the hell J.D. Vance march his ass over there in the first place? You see what I mean? But yeah, everything it's tax dollars, so it's not free. And of course, but when you're doing collective bargaining, which is what it is in Hungary, in Denmark, in the EU, when you're doing collective bargaining, the service is more affordable and everyone's getting access to it. So not only are you making it cheaper for yourself, but you're also providing a means for everyone else to access it too. But in the United States, how it's organized, which is the only country that does this in the West, what they have done is they've made it more expensive for the user and less people getting covered. So where's all that extra money going for the same service? So there it is, and it's facts. And and so let me ask everybody right now, do you support universal health care? Put a 1 in the chat if you support universal health care and universal education in your country. If you would like that to be a reality. Put a 2 in the chat if you would not, and let me know what country you live in and where you come from. Vance can Vance spell socialism? Shit, you tell me, can he? Can he? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Can Trump? Fuck. I have no clue, man. I mean, I could tell you what it's like. Listen, when I call my doctor, because I live in Denmark and I have universal health care. When I call my doctor, I can go get a blood test. I can go get a meeting, sit down, talk to him about whatever issue I have, symptoms. It doesn't matter if it's, physical, if it's psychological, whatever it is, whatever the issue is, and then if I have to be referred further to a specialist for any particular reason or the hospital or anything like that, it will happen from there. But generally speaking, I haven't had to wait any extreme time to see any doctor. And we went over the rules about this before. Actually, it's very competitive. It's similar to the times in the U.S. All the major things, don't believe people when they tell you, oh, it's going to take you forever to get this and that. No, that's not what's happening. Only thing that's happening is you're paying less for the same service you pay for now, and more people get access to it. That's what's happening. Okay, with universal health care and universal education is the same thing. You end up with a society and a neighborhood full of people that are educated instead of full of people not knowing what to do. You know what I'm saying? And education, even if you don't have a job, is beneficial because at least you're organized. You've gone into some sort of organizational training. You know how to do reports. You know how to do research. You know how to do problem solving. You know what tools are used for the problem solving. You're getting trained. You're learning. All the programming and things like this. So, in theory and practical knowledge, whatever practical knowledge you need to get in your training, when you go into a class, a trade school, university, any of that. You see what I'm saying? It just helps you think differently. To have an education, a good education does that. You see what I mean? So instead of just having a bunch of disorganized chaos running around in people's heads, on the corner and outside your home, you know what I'm saying? And at least a person, when they don't have something, they know that there's a structure to getting it. They know, there's a process to me resolving this, but how I communicate with others is likely going to dictate the outcome. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not alone. I learn more about the society I live in. There's a lot of that going on too. That in the U.S., man, it's sad. It's called disenfranchisement. So yeah, we need to work on that. By the way, I like what Mandami is doing. He actually, I think they opened up their first, neighbor or town grocery store. I think that just happened in the last 48 hours. He had a big opening, I believe, with Bernie Sanders and Mondami. So it's interesting. I like what I see out of that, and hopefully it continues. I will
represent them, but I attended the Munich.
Somebody named Clary said, Trump, wonderful man. Trump doing an amazing job. Are you even writing? Man, put a period somewhere or a comma in your statement. It's just small t, Trump. Trump, wonderful man. Trump, no period. Trump, wonderful man. Trump. Hold on. Let me put this up on the screen so people can see what I'm reading. This is funny. This is funny. This is what I'm reading right here. Let me show you. It's by Clary Peace U5J. That's like a model. You got the Clarice U5J model and shit robot out here up in my chat. You're welcome. Hello. And she writes, Trump, wonderful man. Trump doing amazing job. The greatest president ever in history. Most intelligent man and wants world peace. That's one sentence. Thank you very much. You need to update your program, because update it to use commas and shit. Just one long goddamn sentence. Peace to you, Clary. Peace.
Security Policy Conference, and I met many EU leaders, and I can see that this is a normal operation, normal way of working, and this is what is expected by the other member states, that we are open and honest with each other, especially when it's like a private conversation, but even in a greater room. But so we should discuss and settle our disputes, and Hungary will be there. Right. We will be a
so this is the president, the newly elected president of Hungary, giving a speech talking about what his goals are, his aims. This is election night, so he got a lot of questions and things like that. But yeah, if you want to know more about that, follow that story. But in any case, let me see here. Rival Viktor Orban speaks. Let me just hear a little bit from this one. Just 2 seconds, and then I want to see what Putin thinks about this. Yeah, we got to see what Putin thinks. Fuck Putin too. Fuck Trump, Putin, Orban. These people are just fucking up everything, man. Listen, I got a message for people like Putin. Sure. People need to know this. People that supported Putin, people that support Putin, especially if you know, there's some right wingers. There was some anti-LGBT and also some right wingers in the U.S. that got support from Putin from Russia through their networks or whatever funding. I'm talking about money and logistics. You know, they had meetings with these people, but there was also some quote unquote lefties. And one of the lefty groups is the Uhuru movement. Their leader got arrested by the feds. Yeah, they got charged by the feds. And I believe one of the subordinates, a young lady. Yeah, I feel sorry for her too, man. Because I'm like, man, this old guy. I'm sorry. Listen, man. I don't care, man. I'm going to criticize people for the way that I feel, and to me, it just looked like this guy is using the old brainwash trick on the young person. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just the authority role. You see what I'm saying? And it just involves young people that are vulnerable. But because I studied their stuff and I watch it and I listen carefully and I understand the talking points they use and I see how they manipulate them too. But in any case, these dumbasses, they received money and help from the same Russian spy that was giving money and help to the right wingers. They hate their ass. See what I'm saying? So people need to be aware of how they play this game. And whoever that guy is, the leader of a Uhuru movement, man, you played yourself, bro. You played yourself. And the right wingers should think about that too, man. Putin is actually supporting you and he's supporting the other side. And this is what happened in Sudan too. This is the same tactic in Sudan. Russia has supported both sides in northern Sudan conflict. Can you believe this? This is what's going on. You know, so yeah, we're going to get into Putin in a second. Let me just hear a few other things here.
And I'm here in Hungary's capital, Budapest, to interview a big political player. Not Viktor Orban, but the man who wants to replace him and who may have a fighting chance of doing so. I'm here to meet Péter Magyar. He seems...
Okay, obviously this already happened, right? But let me just skim through this real quick and move forward a little bit. Boom. Okay, got to avoid that. What else? Okay, 2 seconds.
Party TISA is leading in most polls in Hungary right now. That is unprecedented since Viktor Orban has been elected in 2010. What do you think is the appeal of the TISA party and you as a politician right now to Hungarians? What's been triggered?
This party,
let me find out. I see.
The party, the TISA in Hungarian, is much more than me. It's much more than 1,500 TISA islands, much more than our volunteers. It's rather a movement, the movement of the vast majority of the Hungarian people against corruption, lies, propaganda, autocracy. So the vast majority of the Hungarian people want to have a new Hungary in a very short time. But there are hundreds of secrets, I think. So the very bad situation of the Hungarian economy, the cost of living crisis caused by the Orban government, the 2.5 times higher inflation in Hungary than the EU average, the condition, the very poor condition of the Hungarian state healthcare system, also the education system, maybe the lack of the EU funds, which are crucial, which would be crucial for the Hungarian economy. So they are all together the secrets.
Yeah. And notice how he didn't blame the economy on universal health care or education. Notice that. You see what I mean? And because actually, if the U.S. economy is weak, you see, just think about that. He's saying that they have issues regarding the economy because of the last party that has governed and all of this stuff, right? But he's not scapegoating universal health care or education. In his plan, he's not saying that's the reason why. And keep in mind, they're going to move forward this way. So let's look at the parallel. Is the U.S. economy doing well? Put a 1 in the chat if you think the U.S. economy is doing well. Put a 2 in the chat if you think the U.S. economy is suffering right now. I mean, I think it's suffering. So here you have an example in my book of another nation, right? You got examples of nations where economies are strong that have universal health care and education. And now you have an example of a country whose economy was suffering that has universal health care and education. So what's the U.S. going to do? Is the U.S. just going to do the same thing with a good and a bad economy? Just the same old shit. Just keep going at it the same way. That's my question. Are they just going to keep going? Damn, Carpe Diem said -2. Yeah, okay. It's real bad. You know what I'm saying? So are we going to just keep going at this thing the same way no matter what, and the economy's good? Everyone didn't get covered. And when the economy's bad, is everyone going to get covered? But you see what I mean? While they paying into the how can you pay into a system through your taxes that you can't access on the backside? This is what's going on. And J.D. Vance taking a trip to Hungary. The right wing supports universal health care and education. He's taking a trip there like shit's not broken in the U.S. And they ran on a platform of saying the U.S. was broken. They ran on a platform of saying, Biden and Obama and Kamala broke the economy. That was their platform. Well, why is it worse now? Why haven't they fixed it yet? You see what I mean? Why aren't they doing something different to fix it? You see? Yeah, in any case, it's just worth noting. Now, let's skip over it. Here's Putin's view. Putin had something to say about this, I believe. Let me check it out. I don't want to misquote it, but I believe he had some public words about this election. So let's see here. Let's go forward. Here we go.
I'm Nicole Furlick in the studio, and we have quite the show for you today because Hungary today woke up to a new reality. After 16 years in power, long-term leader Viktor Orban has been ousted. Sunday's election delivered a landslide victory to his challenger, Peter Magyar. In a stunning blow to Orban, Magyar's Tisza party won a 2/3 majority on an anti-corruption platform and vowing to rebuild Hungary's strained relation with the EU and NATO. As people took to the streets of the capital, Budapest, to celebrate the end of Orban's rule, you can see them there. The prime minister publicly conceded defeat and congratulated Magyar.
The election results aren't final yet, but they are clear. For us, they are painful, but clear. We have not been given the responsibility and opportunity to govern. I have congratulated the winner.
Damn, and think about this. Orban is way more considerate of his rival than Trump is. That's ironic also. Yet J.D. Vance was over there talking to him. This is crazy. This is really crazy in the American sense to watch. I mean, my American side thinks it's crazy because I'm looking at Orban, who's a bigot, obviously, and doesn't like foreigners. I don't want to judge too much because I don't know the particulars, right? But let's just say if you go by what you hear, right? So in other words, we got extreme right wing, doesn't like immigrants, quote unquote. I don't know for sure, but that's what is going out there. That's what's being reported. But the right winger who doesn't like immigrants still believes his people should have universal health care and universal education, right? And I'm watching him be more polite than Trump and more gracious to his opponent. What the fuck? This is bizarre. How bizarre? How bizarre?
Gratuláltam.
What the hell did he say? He was too damn gracious. I'm like, why can't Trump learn from this motherfucker, man? God damn.
Yet, but they are clear. For us, they are painful, but clear. We have not been given the responsibility and opportunity to govern. I have congratulated the winner.
Michael Moore, do you have a picture on your page, man? Can I see who you are? Show me something of yourself on your page, bro. But in any case, it says, Michael Moore, model NG7VT, model number. Okay. He says, who cares about Hungary? Take care of American people and leave the others alone. That's been an American problem. Yeah, but in taking care of America and leaving others alone, it's good to point out what others do and you don't do right. How are you going to do better and take care of yourself if you don't know right from wrong? Like, yeah. I mean, let me ask you a question then, Michael Moore. It's just a question. Having said that, because I agree, America should leave, even though that's not going to happen because superpowers rarely just leave the world alone. You know, they they usually have large tentacles. But in any case, like China and Russia do, and the EU. But in any case, let's just say I understand that sentiment and I agree with that sentiment. Leave others alone. If that's a positive, like, I don't know what you mean. Do you mean don't have friends? Don't work together with people? Is that what you mean? Leave others alone? Or because I don't agree with it if you mean that. But let's just say you mean don't do harm to others. Okay, fine. I like that sentiment. But so let's say you take care of America first. What does that mean to you? What does it mean to take care of American people and leave others alone? What does that mean to you? That's what I want to know. What does it mean to you? And exactly. Do you agree? Put a 1 in the chat if you believe in universal health care in the U.S. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. And I'm talking to Michael Moore, Bryant Blackburn, people more opportunity to work. Okay, I think, yeah. I like to know definite things here. Let me see here. So I'll give you an example. Michael Moore said that. Who cares about Hungary? Take care of American people first. What does taking care of American people mean? Exactly. How do you do that? Hungary has universal health care. JD Vance went to visit them. Do you believe in universal health care and education like Hungary's right wing does or not? Same question for Brian Blackburn. Do you agree with universal health care and education in the United States of America like Hungary's right wing or not? Yeah, I want to hear from you too. Thank you very much. Let's go on.
And Magyar supporters hope that the next prime minister will steer the country in a different direction. Let's hear from some of them.
Just redirect towards Europe.
To get back to Europe and to get the
and I just wanted people on the screen to be able to see the comments I'm talking about. There's Michael Moore's comment. There's Brian Blackburn's comment. Yeah. So you could see that. Thank you. So let's continue.
action that this is what I really, really hope.
Finally, we're not going to align with Russia. That's the first thing. We're going to align with the EU. It's the most important thing. Finally, we will have EU values, democracy, and rule of law.
Today, we'll be looking at what this election result means for Hungary's foreign ties, especially.
So Brian Blackburn responded this. He says, I don't know what country he lives in, but he says paying for health care is cheap and you have to pay for it if you want it. It's $100 a month. Okay. What state is that in? Yeah. What state and who's the healthcare provider and what do you get for that $100 a month? Yeah. What does that cover? Does that cover your medicine? Does that cover, your operations? Let's say if you need a heart transplant, does it cover that? Also, are you also for universal education or you want to pay for that too? Just curious. Just curious. That's all.
Its relationship with Russia, Viktor Orban is a close ally of Vladimir Putin's and has frustrated his EU partners for repeatedly blocking aid to Ukraine. So how big a blow is this result for the Kremlin? That's what we'll be talking about to our correspondents in Budapest, in Riga, Brussels.
Yeah, I'm curious about what he's saying because the reason why I asked the question that way is because he's not mentioning lowering the taxes. He's okay with not having those things. I thought if it was this cheap, just $100 a month, nothing else, then you would say, okay, well then stop collecting the tax money that goes into Medicare and Medicaid. Then I'm thinking, right, because why should your taxes pay for something like that if it's just $100 a month? Anybody can afford that, right? That's not so oppressive. But for some reason, he ain't talking about the taxes. He wants the taxes to remain.
And a political analyst in Hungary. So if you have questions for them, post them in the comments and we'll try to answer them for you. And we'll take you straight now to Riga, where our correspondent Sergei Satanovsky is standing by. Sergei, I hope you're with us. Any reactions from the Kremlin to Orban's defeat?
Well, the reaction...
I'm just going to let him lie in the chat. It's okay. Go ahead, lie. You do your thing. If somebody's dumb enough to believe you, that's their fault, man.
From the Kremlin are actually coming in right now, live. So Vladimir Putin's spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, just said that Moscow expects the continuation of pragmatic, as he says, contacts with Hungary following the elections. And he also said that Russia is interested in building good relations with Hungary as well as with all European countries. He also mentioned the Druzhba pipeline, which Viktor Orban, the candidate that lost, was insisting on repairing. So he said that it will only be repaired, I guess, if the countries in the European Union were interested in that. But otherwise, we also got some reactions from Russian state TV that basically has been explaining to domestic audience, to the Russians, that Orban lost because of internal issues, despite his very well-rounded, as they say.
Yo, Brian Blackburn, all you got to do is state the name of the company, right? And mention what it covers exactly, and if it has preconditions. That's all you got to do. People can take it from there. Thank you.
International stance, and the Kremlin, of course, wouldn't, I guess, openly say, but this is clearly a major loss for Vladimir Putin. Viktor Orban was his most important and actually one of his only allies in the European Union. He was a very valuable asset, a very precious asset, we can say, because we remember that Hungary is the country that is blocking.
Yo, what is this, man? Blackburn, I'm going to have to block you if you keep spreading disinformation. Okay, he says, I've sold insurance off and on since 81 when it was cheaper before Obama killed the healthcare insurance to make it super expensive. But Obama didn't do anything. Obama's just the president. The only thing he can do is sign things into law that Congress and the Senate pass. I hope you know that's what a president does. Obama didn't executive order anything about health insurance. So you're incorrect about that. But since you want to be a wise ass, okay, you know, and spread some of the most dumbest ass shit on earth in my chat, go somewhere else with that shit, bozo. All right, let's continue.
90 billion actually euro loan to you.
And put up some things about who you are in your own life so people can know who they're talking to when you spread information like that. I mean, what the fuck?
To Ukraine. And
he's got an empty ass, nothing up there, man. It's crazy.
Now the Kremlin will have to somehow figure out how to move forward without this key ally in the European Union. And that said, the next steps, of course, that will be taken by Hungary's new government will show just how serious this loss is for the Kremlin.
Okay. So let me see something here. What else was there? Did I not have the statement from Putin up here? What's the deal with it? Are they gonna play it? Let me roll that back. Maybe I missed it. Or maybe he's not commenting at all. I think maybe he didn't make any comment yet. Or I think it's coming. I think it's
our
coming.
Senior international correspondent, Fanny Fashar. She's been up all night covering this historic moment for us. Fanny, I know it is a very cliche question, but I really want to know, what's the mood of Budapest today?
Speaking of it, a lot of people have been up all night. Also, many of the journalists here behind me are waiting for an international press conference of Péter Magyar, the leader of the center-right party, the winner of the night, basically. And with regard to the mood, it really depends who you ask, because obviously the supporters of the center-right party, many of them I've been speaking to yesterday and some today, the ones who are up told me is this a dream? Is this reality, or am I dreaming this? Because they tell me it's been almost like a status quo. The Prime Minister Viktor Orban and his ruling Fidesz party had such a strong...
Okay. It says here that following the recent Hungarian parliamentary election on April 12, 2026, Vladimir Putin has not sent a congratulatory message to the winner. The election results in a landslide victory for the opposition, led by Peter. Okay, we know that. Okay, official stance. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated on April 13, 2026, that there are no plans to congratulate the winner. This is funny, man. He cited Hungary's status as an unfriendly country due to its support for sanctions against Russia. Contrast with 2022, media outlets have pointed out a sharp contrast to 2022 election when Putin personally sent a congratulatory telegram to Viktor Orban immediately after his win, despite Hungary being on the unfriendly list even then. I mean, there it is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
They say over the country and much of Europe with his influence as well. There are other populist leaders, but also across the pond in the United States, that they thought this is just going to continue basically forever until maybe one day Prime Minister Viktor Orban is ready to retire. Now, there's also, of course, the other part of society, the ones who are very disappointed and, in fact, even concerned because
Yo,
they
Carpe
say,
Diem, peace, Carpe Diem. Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Magyar has never been a politician. There's an uncertainty. What's going to happen next? And they felt that it is, especially when it comes to uncertainty, not just only in Hungary, but worldwide right now. If you look at the geopolitical situation, the shifts both with regard to the transatlantic relationships, the situation in the Middle East, people here were hoping, the ones who were supporting Prime Minister Viktor Orban, that he's going to make sure that Hungary and Hungarians are protected. So there is a concern amongst a lot of those people who did not vote for Péter Magyar's Tisza party. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest challenges, apart from all the promises that Péter Magyar made also during his victory speech last night, and that is the challenge of unifying Hungary. There are wounds on all sides. There are the wounds of those who supported the Tisza party now because they say they've been suffering under the rule of Prime Minister Viktor Orban, but there are now new wounds of those, they tell me, who wanted Prime Minister Viktor Orban to continue for another 4 years.
Yeah, funny. Questions are starting to trickle in our chat on YouTube as well as on TikTok. Mary McDermott says the EU will be much stronger with Hungary as an ally. What do we know about Péter Magyar's foreign policy ideas at all?
That's a good question, because I do remember interviewing Péter Magyar myself a little while ago, where he was almost reluctant to speak about foreign policy. He really focused on the bread and butter issues, to say so, here in Hungary, the domestic issues, to improve healthcare, to make sure that the economy is better off once he is in office. When it comes to the foreign policy alliances, to say so, certainly Péter Magyar is promising a more pro-European and a pro-NATO stance, to say so, in Hungary. What it actually means pragmatically, we just really have to see. In fact, once again, there's going to be a press conference taking place later today. What we can say for sure is the promises that he has made also last night. And one is that he wants to make even today an immediate request for Hungary to be part of the European People Prosecution Office, which is an institution to help prosecute those who are committing crimes when it comes to EU funds and corruption and fraud. So he said he wants to do that right away, and also follow up on all those important homeworks, he says, that are necessary to make sure that those billions of EU funds that are frozen since 2023, that they return actually to Hungary. Money that's much needed. If you look at just very simple things, for example, the infrastructure here, the healthcare system, etc. When it comes to the, let's say, bigger partners, or bigger powers, I should rather say, Russia and the United States, Péter Magyar made clear he wants to talk to everybody, but he also made clear he wants to diversify away from Russian energy, but also he seems to be quite realistic about that, because he said that's going to take some time. So as really the parliament didn't even convene yet. That's going to happen around mid-May, and there's still Prime Minister Viktor Orban's Fidesz party in the position to actually change laws with the two.
All right, so I think people kind of get the gist about this. Let me move up one right here. Here we go. Let's go.
His country.
Oh shit. 2 seconds. Sorry about that. Let's go on. Yeah, I'm curious about what the EU is going to do immediately about the support for Ukraine. So that's what I want to try to find. Let's see here.
Vis-a-vis the Kremlin.
Yes, as it was told before, Peter Magyar have talked just a very bit about foreign policy issues, mostly because he felt that this is not his main field, and also that it is less important for the voters. But when he was asked, he typically responded to questions on Russia and on Ukraine, emphasizing that he will not make a U-turn to Viktor Orban's policies. For example, no fast-track accession of Ukraine to the European Union. He also emphasized, like in this statement, that he does not want to cut Russian energy income and sources to Hungary totally. At the same time, since 2 of April, when the previous interview have been prepared, there has been many more signs of influence of Russia into the Hungarian elections through GRU, the military intelligence service, to SVR, the foreign intelligence service, and even through a social design agency on social media, and a false flag attempt.
YouTube, also on YouTube, in V Media's chat, all that shit, man.
An alleged bomb threat in Serbia, and all that turned the public mood even more against Russia, especially in the voter base of TISA.
And Americans need to see. I actually, at first, I thought, there should be a stronger stance against disinformation. I think there should be a comprehensive stance, not strong necessarily, but comprehensive, right? But I also think this kind of disinformation that kind of was involved in the 2024 election, I think Americans are starting to catch on how it works. And that's why I usually say to people, like, when did you get your health care? What state do you live in, and who's your health care provider? Because that's a clear indication that when they don't want to answer those simple questions, that they are trolling, that they're not even an American, that they're not even, but they're trying to interfere in some states' elections, upcoming elections, this kind of thing. Like, if you notice the guy that I asked, presumably it's a guy, I asked him to state the company's name. He didn't even state the company's name. He's talking about, I sold healthcare and all of this stuff, and you can give it for $100. All I did was tell him, tell us the name, what they cover, right, and what the pre-existing, if they deal with pre-existing conditions, if there's, and he didn't even answer the question. You see, but he wants everyone to understand that Obama destroyed healthcare in America. You see what I mean? Going to the same Democratic, it's the Democrats' fault, this kind of thing. You don't even know if this is an American citizen. And, this is what we have to get used to. We have to learn how to discern the difference between an online troll and a real American. And you can do that by asking real American questions. Like, straight up $100 a month in 1960. Exactly. No, everybody. No, I mean, he's insulting people's intelligence in the chat anyway. Like, who does this moron think he fooling and shit? You know what I'm saying? It is crazy. So you see, Hungary has the same problem. It's the social media, Russians in the social media trying to fuck with the elections. That's exactly what we saw in this chat too. It may not be so obvious what the motive is, but the motive was anti-democratic party. They mentioned that straight up.
A false flag attempt, an alleged bomb threat in Serbia, and all that turned the public mood even more against Russia, especially in the voter base of TISA.
Yep, and it's possible it's the same thing going to happen to Trump too. The more Americans figure out that they've been duped through these trolls online, the more and the fact that Trump has been cozying up with the troll stuff. He's perfectly happy with it. You see what I mean? Like no problem, no effort to stop it, nothing like that. And that the trolls are pushing anti-democratic party shit and pro-Trump shit at the same time. You see what I mean? So people aren't dumb. It might take them a while to figure it out. They might have to get hit with it more than once before they figure it out. But at some point, they will figure it out and it won't work anymore, you know?
So if you just walking around on the streets yesterday in Budapest after the election results, youngsters were shouting very loudly, Russians go home. So my point would be that the campaign is over. In the campaign, Magyar wanted to be very cautious, not to be burnt with the label of that he is the Ukrainian agent, as the government wanted to post him. But at the moment, I think he has a huge room for maneuvering, especially with this very high electoral success and the constitutional majority. If he wants, I think even he can do a U-turn on Russia. And his his shadow foreign minister, Anita Orban, is someone who has even written books on how to get independent from...
Yeah, the guy is selling universal health care for 100 krona. No copay. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's telling people in the chat. Yo,
Russian energy. So I would say that there is some kind of demand for that. And if when it comes to Ukraine, it might be a bit trickier issues because mainly as a political product, but anti-Ukrainian sentiments have become stronger in the Hungarian society, and Volodymyr Zelensky is very unpopular in the Hungarian public. But I would think that when it comes to European decisions, especially given that Peter Magyar desperately needs the EU funds and he knows that for that he has to behave to a certain extent in the EU, I would not expect that Hungary would veto decisions, for example, on financial support towards Ukraine in the European Council. And maybe this is the most important thing that the next government can do in order to help Ukraine. Very friendly relationships with Ukraine, like of Poland, like of Baltic states, I think it would be a longer way to go.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. Now, let me go back over to the chat. Okay, what y'all? This is what's going on. People are talking about healthcare there, and somebody came in the chat and said these things. Listen, y'all, critical thinking skills. Yeah, this guy, he is telling you can get healthcare for only $100, and you think healthcare. I asked him a very simple question. Name what it covers. The man refused to name what it covers. He refused to name the company. He refused to say if what their position is on pre-existing conditions. You know, so it's very simple. He's bullshitting people. Secondly, the problem's still not solved because you still pay into Medicare through your taxes. So you're paying an extra $100 for health care while you're still paying that tax money into the Medicare system in the U.S. I mean, it's bullshit. Do you know how much taxes out of your check goes to the healthcare system? Even if you can't access it, do you know how much comes out of your check? Loads of it. A huge part of it comes out of your check. It's not a little itty bitty part. You know, and I think one of the money from the federal budget, from federal income taxes, right, from the federal budget also, I believe, I'm not sure how it's split up, but I believe it's a huge portion. If you know how much it was, it may not be the biggest thing, but it's probably number 2 biggest budget issue is that. So there's loads of money from your taxes going into Medicare and Medicaid that you can't even access on the back end because of the copays. And here this guy just comes along and says, oh, guess what? I got a miracle. $100 healthcare insurance a month. Don't tell you what it includes. Doesn't tell you if what the position is on pre-existing conditions. That's exactly what you want to know. And he don't mention anything about you continuing to pay your taxes into a system, the Medicaid system, at the same time. Come on, you can't smell bullshit when you see it, you know. But in any case, yeah. All right, let's continue. This, sometimes, I just wonder. I just wonder sometimes, man. I wonder. It's sad, but there's a lot of scammers out there. But you got to get used to the trolls. It happens. It happens. All right, this is the EU's response now. Let's see
16
here.
years of uninterrupted power. Peter Magyar, the winner, is promising to restore relations between Brussels and Budapest. What are your expectations for Peter Magyar? Do you expect him, for instance, to carry out the reforms to release the frozen funds? Do you expect him to put an end to the Russian influence inside Hungary? And do you expect him to abide by the agreement on the 90 billion loan for Ukraine without making it conditional on the Druzhba pipeline? Thank you.
So I would like to say that today Europe is Hungarian without any question. The people of Hungary have spoken and they have reclaimed their European path. It is a victory for fundamental freedoms. And I really want to say to the Hungarian people, you've done it again, against all odds, like you did in 1956 when you courageously stood up. Like you did it in 1989, when you were the first to cut the barbed wire that was dividing our continent. So with this result, our union is stronger, our union is more united. It was an exceptional evening yesterday. Of course, we will start working with the government as soon as possible on the topics you mentioned and much more to make a swift and overdue progress to the benefit of the Hungarian people. There's much work to be done as Hungary is coming back to the European path. But today, of course, is a day to celebrate. So I want to recall what I once said in a speech to the Hungarian people. We are one family. Your story is our story. Your future is our future. And we will walk with you every step of the way.
Magyar is now primed to be Prime Minister. How certain are you that he's capable of delivering these reforms, and what exactly does he need to deliver to unfreeze the billions and billions of EU funds currently withheld from Budapest? And then finally, if I may ask, thirdly, we know there's an EU mission to inspect the Druzhba pipeline that has been stalled in Kiev for quite some time now. What are your expectations in the near future on that?
First of all, the new government has to be in place. That is important. We will be in contact immediately. If you look at the discussions by Peter Magyar and his announcements in the public sphere during the election campaign, you can already see that he's very clear on the European path, that he is very clear also committing himself and the new government to continue working with us on the different topics that are open. For me, it's very important that we work intensively with the new Hungarian government on funds that have to be delivered, reforms that have to be delivered, but funds then that can be delivered because the Hungarian people deserve it. So let him be in office first. I think this is the most important part. But as I said, he was also very clear with his public comments on what he intends to do. Thank you very much.
This sounds so clean. It's insane.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me see here. Yeah, it's interesting. I see. I'm looking at the chat and yeah, it's interesting. You know, at some point you got to ask yourself, what is it you like? What is it you prefer? If you have choices, whatever your choices are, right? If you could have those choices, I mean, you have choices right now. When I look at the EU, right, I see there's often a lot of criticism, you know, and that's okay. I don't think that's, you know, there's enough criticism to go around, to be honest. And again, I think if you want to be real, then you have to understand there's criticism to go around, right? But what I want to know is what do people expect when you're dealing with like the EU, for example? It's a union. It's called the European Union. It's actually a union in reality. It's the second biggest economy on earth. It's only rivaled or only challenged by China's emerging economy. You see what I mean? So it's a substantial player on earth, right? What do you think the EU should do differently, right? Then and how is, let's say, Russia and China going to help that, and the United States going to help them do things differently? I mean, if you wanted to see them do something, what would it be, and what would you want to see Russia, China, and Russia, China, and who else? And the U.S. Assist them in doing, or cooperate with them doing? This is what I want to know, because when I think about, I see Jethro's comment, U.S. industrial complex lobbies kickback. I mean, to me, it seems like you're dealing with a cycle, and until the cycle is addressed, there's certain things you probably won't get. And what I mean by cycle is, I mean all players involved in it. You know what I mean? There's always a yin and a yang, and without the yin, you can't have the yang. You see what I mean? And vice versa. So I don't see this. I'll give you an example, Jethro. Think about this. Like the EU, Trump came out of the gate complaining, saying the EU doesn't make enough weapons. That's literally what Trump said. Trump's request to the EU when he got into office was make more weapons. You're not spending the amount of your GDP that the agreement says, even though it's a non-binding agreement. You know what I'm saying? But they were working towards the agreement. I think it's non-binding. It's well, in any case, they were all working towards it. But that was Trump's first request. That JD Vance's first request too. Spend more money on weapons and defense. That's what they told the EU to do. So the EU has done that. They made more weapons. But keep in mind, Trump and JD Vance are friends of Russia. So how does that work? Why is a friend of Putin's telling his competitor or his adversary to buy more weapons? You see how this cycle, you see how all this shit is crazy? I'm just sorry. I just don't see where it makes sense. And then you have Putin invading Ukraine. So what is the EU really supposed to do better in that situation? What are they supposed to do better? I'm talking to Jethro. Jethro, man, you don't hear me? I see you in the chat debate. No worries. Anyway, but I mean, really, and also to everybody listening, what do you think the EU is supposed to do in a situation where they have Trump just becoming elected and demanding that they spend more on weapons making? That is literally what Trump demanded out of the EU, period. All of them unilaterally. And he wouldn't stop with insulting them for one day until they did it. And they've done that. However, Trump is the friend, and Vance is the friend of Putin. Does Putin want the EU buying more weapons and making more weapons? Putin is also the person invading Ukraine, right? So what is the EU supposed to do? Are they not supposed to buy more weapons? Are they not supposed to get more industrialized, militarily industrialized? It's hard to kind of do it when, number one person is demanding that they do it, and the second one is invading their neighbor. That's kind of hard to do. You see what I mean? So I don't criticize the EU for responding to Trump or Putin. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that they are responding, and but I just think that's just an example of the cycle, though. That we're part of a cycle. Even the U.S. is in part of a cycle. People say that the U.S. should stop supporting Israel. People have thought that's been a debate for a long time. It's not today. It's not a new debate. It's a debate that has almost existed my entire life, right? So, right, I get that. That sounds like an interesting idea. However, when you look at the geopolitics of it, obviously someone else would be looking to move in that area, right? And establish themselves where the U.S. pulls out of. That's the reality of it. And I'm not saying they won't do something better. They could do something better. the opportunity is always there to do something better, right? But how does that really work? You pull out, and then what happens? You see what I mean? So a lot of people will argue that the moment the U.S. pulls out, its allies in the region are, at risk now. You see what I'm saying? And it's not just Israel. You see, so, and you can ask these questions anywhere in the world. It will be the same thing, the same dynamic. So that's all that I question when I look at this kind of dynamic about criticizing different governments or unions and things like that, because at some point they're all playing a role in it. Do you want China to de-escalate? Let me ask you a question. How many people, not that this is just a theoretical question, obviously, because the U.S. spends way more money on military than China does, as we know it from what we know, right? From what's been released. But would you like China to stop making weapons, stop making more defense equipment and things like that? Put a 1 in the chat if you would like China and Russia to spend less money on defense. And put a 2 in the chat if you want them to spend more on defense. I'm just I like to just juxtapose the questions to try to get some, to see what comes out of it. It's not that it has to be a real one, but I just want to see what people say. because I mean, I think you have to ask that question. If you want to tell other people to stop making weapons, then of course you want to tell their opponent to stop making weapons too, or you need something. And if one's not going to do it, the other one's probably not either. You see what I mean? That's all I'm saying. That's what I mean by cycle. But in any case, see, when I put it this way, it sounds, you see the point, right? You see what I mean? And I think most of them are probably thinking that, like, I'm not going to be the first to slow down making weapons. Why do that? Why do that? You know what I mean? Yeah, so I can be last, so I can have less weapons. And then look at the EU now. The EU was totally told that they don't make enough weapons by the U.S. And then Putin is invading their neighbor, Ukraine. Is there an argument for them to not make more weapons? No. There's a damn good argument for them to make more weapons. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what it's making them do. It's not that they wanted to. They'd rather spend the money on healthcare and fucking education. They obviously, through the tax system, spend more of their money on education, public things, the public sector in Europe than the United States does. That I'm guessing. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm pretty sure of it. Or if the United States spends equal or more, a lot of it is wasted through corruption, likely. But in any case, let's stay on topic here. Let's go. Sorry about that. Y'all heard about this story right here? This dude is accused of assaulting a woman. So let me turn it up.
Swalwell announced he will resign from Congress in the wake of serious allegations of sexual assault and misconduct. Allegations first published in the San Francisco Chronicle and by CNN that have now ended Swalwell's candidacy for California's open governor's seat. The San Francisco Chronicle spoke with a former member of Swalwell's congressional staff who detailed multiple encounters that she had with Swalwell that included unwanted sex. Her allegations include two.
Are y'all hearing this? This is crazy. So this guy, man, he's featured on MSN. And now he's featured in a new way on MSN. I mean, this is interesting, and it's also sad. But he says he's innocent. What do you think? He says he's innocent.
Moments ago, California Congressman Eric Swalwell announced he will resign from Congress in the wake of serious allegations of sexual assault and misconduct. Allegations first published in the San Francisco Chronicle and by CNN that have now ended Swalwell's candidacy for California's open governor's seat. The San Francisco Chronicle spoke with a former member of Swalwell's congressional staff who detailed multiple encounters that she had with Swalwell that included unwanted sex. Her allegations include two detailed graphic accounts of encounters which resulted in the woman waking up without clothes on in Swalwell's hotel room. The San Francisco Chronicle corroborated her account of events with text and Snapchat messages the staffer exchanged with friends and Swalwell in the immediate aftermath of those encounters. along with medical records, which MS Now has reviewed. Those records detail pregnancy and STD testing that was administered a week after an encounter with Swalwell. In a statement ending his gubernatorial campaign, Eric Swalwell said this, quote, "To my family, staff, friends, and supporters, I am deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations that have been made, but that's my fight, not a campaign's." This afternoon, the House Ethics Committee announced it will be opening an investigation into Congressman Swalwell. And again, moments ago, in a social media post, Eric Swalwell announced that he will be resigning from Congress. I want to bring in co-founder of Punchbowl News and political contributor Jake Sherman and our congressional reporter Michael Snell. Michael, tell me how this came about, this resignation. This has snowballed since CNN's story and San Francisco Chronicle's reporting broke Friday afternoon.
Yeah, Katie, it snowballed very quickly, right? It was just hours after that San Francisco Chronicle and CNN article had published Friday afternoon that Eric Swalwell posted a video on social media calling these allegations flat, false, and vowing to fight against them. And then, as you just mentioned, on Sunday night, late last night, he put out another statement saying he was suspending his campaign for governor. And now, less than 24 hours later, Eric Swalwell saying he is resigning from Congress. I'll note he still is saying, quote, "I will fight the serious false allegations made against me." He adds, though, however, "I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make." He also says that it's not right for his constituents to have to watch him fight these allegations, so he's going to do it outside of Congress. This was really the buildup as it was becoming more and more likely that Eric Swalwell was going to be expelled from Congress. We saw a growing number of Democrats and Republicans up here on Capitol Hill calling on him to resign and saying if he didn't resign, they would vote for his expulsion. Just minutes before Eric Swalwell said he was resigning from Congress, there was a statement from Senator Ruben Gallego. He was the chair of Eric Swalwell's 2020 presidential campaign, a very, very close friend of Eric Swalwell. He said that he should be expelled from Congress and added, "I trusted someone who I believed was a friend, but it is now clear that he is not the person I thought I knew." Eric Swalwell lost a lot of allies up here on Capitol Hill, a lot of folks who were saying they were going to vote to expel him. He seems to have just jumped to the chase, announcing his resignation on his own.
Jake Sherman, from the alleged victim, speaking to the San Francisco Chronicle, quote, "I have no skin in the game of who becomes governor of California, but I feel people have a right to know whether the person who leads a state that is a safe haven for so many women actually treats women with dignity and will protect their rights," she said. Quote, "No one protected me from him, and so I have to protect the other young women like me who aspire to work in this field and he could prey upon." San Francisco Chronicle and CNN blowing the story open late Friday. And as we said, it snowballed from there.
It's amazing that within from Friday, and today is Monday, Nicole, Friday to Monday, and there was already, as Michael said, a groundswell of support to expel Swalwell from Congress. Remember, that's a big margin that you need to expel him from Congress. 2/3 majority, roughly 290 votes it would take to expel Swalwell from Congress. And just internally, what Swalwell is doing has two kind of immediate implications, both for himself and for the rest of the institution. Number one,
well, here's the thing. I agree. He definitely needs to step his ass down. And it's obvious that I don't know. I won't say it's obvious, but I would say usually a person that steps down that fast is a person that doesn't want some of the things to come out, whatever they're accused of, right? So that they must be heinous enough, the allegations, right? There must be something there, corroboration or something, but for a person to step down. Very simple. There have to be corroboration at the least. That's what I would think. And corroboration doesn't mean a lot, but it can give you some idea of the whether this person should be around others, even if you don't know for sure if something happened. The idea about corroboration is, should you now risk more damage? But here's the thing. I think, we need to jump on this somewhere else. And I hate to say that to his victims or whatever. And I applaud the woman that spoke out, because she's totally 100% right. It's her job to protect others. That's the very least she could do by speaking up, to protect other women from this behavior. And and if you don't do something about it, and he's not removed, women could be in danger, apparently, until you find out otherwise. Now, but here's the other thing. This is some bullshit though, because they got 2/3 of the House to jump on this shit, but they can't get 2/3 of the House to jump on fucking Trump. Trump is a wave. I mean, I hate to compare bad things, but apparently Trump is way more worse than this. He's been accused of far worse. Trump has, and I don't even know what this guy's accused of, but he definitely is not accused of raping a little kid and strangling little dogs in their face and then throwing them to the side and then raping a little kid. I mean, that's what I'm saying. How'd you move? What? Come on, man. What are we waiting for with Trump? Like, Trump, what hasn't Trump been accused of? What the fuck? The only thing Trump hasn't been accused of is being a decent person. What the fuck? Everything else he's been accused of. And this is how fast it's like, oh, you could mobilize people that fast? Okay. All righty. What does that mean? You take shit like this serious? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Because the main one, the one that's been accused more than anyone else, is sitting in the fucking White House. You know, it's like, what do you compare? This victim didn't even go to the FBI. Think about how many people done went to the FBI to have shit about Trump. Nothing. People got hours-long tapes and recordings talking about this nasty pedophile shit they allege Trump did. It's shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he couldn't get anywhere near an impeachment. Nobody's willing to vote on that shit. And he was the best friend of the most prolific pedophile. I mean, was this guy on? This dude never even had to come out to say, I wasn't on Epstein Island. I never flew in his plane. He's not saying anything like that because he wasn't even around Epstein. But Trump was around Epstein, and at the very least, no matter what you believe, that made him the best friend of the most prolific pedophile, child sex trafficker, blackmailer, and espionage the country has ever known. And you still going to risk it when they have people that went to the FBI corroborating shit on Trump? So listen, understand this. This does not mean the United States of America gives a fuck about little girls, women, espionage, rape, culture, treason, blackmail, any motherfucking thing. It doesn't mean it at all. All it means is that it don't mean anything. But having said that, I think that the woman doing her job, she did the right thing. And he, at the very least, did the right thing by stepping down. You know what I'm saying? Because he shows that the standards are different. He will step down. I'm not saying he's not innocent because I don't know. I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. But he does prove this point, that at least he respected the building enough to say when he is called out and there's even in the slightest bit of corroboration, he stepped down. The Republicans are not willing to do that as a party. That's not what they're doing. Trump, they're not encouraging Trump to do that. So, yeah. So I don't know what this is. This ain't going to change. We still want the Epstein files released. You know what I'm saying? We still demand the Epstein file released, even though this is being taken care of. Okay. So you Republicans out there that's joining with the Democrats to do something, to do the right thing for once, it ain't going to mean shit, really, because you won't do the right thing when it really, you know, you won't do the right thing when it's 1,000 times more necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, they do the right thing only when there's a Democrat there in the line of fire. Then you get some Republicans to do the right thing. You know, why does Trump have a job? Why is Trump still getting taxpayer dollars? Why? Just why at this point? But let's hear some more here.
Sparing members of Congress from having to vote to expel him because that's a privileged resolution, meaning it can't be stopped. Once someone introduces it, it's going to get a vote one way or another, either an up and down vote or a vote on to table it or refer it to committee or otherwise set it aside. That's number one. Number two, this House ethics investigation, which was announced today, just hours ago, is over. If he's no longer a member of Congress, once he is no longer a member of Congress.
I see Fab EC. I don't know what you're talking about. They did have anything corroborated what you're talking about. That's not a complete sentence, man. You got to write that better, man. Then I can answer you. I don't know what that means actually in English. What you just wrote. This is one. I'm serious. So try to write it. Try to make it a complete thought. It's broken up. I don't know what that means. They did have. Let me just bring this up so people can see what I'm talking about. Here it is. So you see that they did have anything corroborated? What are you talking about? They did have anything corroborated? I don't know what that means. They did have anything corroborated. I don't know what that means.
Resignation, the House Ethics Committee no longer has jurisdiction over Swalwell. So that ends that. Now there's been reports that
it could be some maneuvering also.
Is looking into his behavior and some of the allegations. There's reports that DHS and is looking into whether he had hired an undocumented immigrant as a household employee. Those could still go on. Those are investigations outside of Congress. But once he resigns, this institution has no more say and no more purview over him. And most alarmingly, does not have the ability to look into allegations, number one, that he had relationships with people in his employ, people who were employed by him, and number two, the assault allegations, which are serious and which the Ethics Committee would have presumably been able to look into. So those are the two immediate kind of institutional impacts of his resignation.
All right, yeah, so he gets to sidestep a few things, for the moment. But listen, everybody knows civil things can turn into criminal. A lot of times stuff starts in the civil courts and then some information comes out in the civil courts hearings or whatever. And, it can a criminal court might pick it up, whatever new evidence comes out of a civil case. But in any case, it says, as of April 2026, Eric Swalwell has been at the center of a serious and breaking allegations that have led to his resignation from Congress and suspension of his campaign of governor for California. I mean, it sounds like, well, you can't really run in this atmosphere, and I hope that you wouldn't be able to. If the allegations are, look, we know something. If this man felt, we don't know, but this is my thought. If I thought I was innocent, these are some horrific allegations. These are serious allegations. There's no way I'm stepping down if I think if I believe I'm innocent and someone's doing something to me. No. Sure. Because listen, that's also serious to claim something that's not real. But to me, I would step down if there's evidence corroborating some of the things that also are not good. You see what I mean? That could lead a person to believe you would also do something else. You see, so in that case, then you got to, if you're crystal clean, then there's nothing to worry about. You don't step down. But if you're not crystal clean, you should probably step down. The situation involves two primary sets of allegations. The current sexual misconduct claims and the older reoccurring controversy regarding a suspected Chinese spy. What? That's interesting. Oh, he was removed from the Intel Committee by then Speaker Kevin something for something like that. Oh, shit. We're going to have to look into that. I didn't even realize that. Let me open this up. This is real talk right here. Okay, it says Eric Swalwell, of California says he will resign after sexual misconduct allegations. Decision caps political fall for the seven-term lawmaker who had been seen as one of the leading candidates in California gubernatorial race before dropping out Sunday after the allegations surfaced. Claims he has continued to deny. Okay, deeply. But where is the damn thing about the Russian spy? That's what I want to see here. Kevin McCarthy, I think it was made the right decision. Schiff says Swalwell wrote in a statement. We don't want to know about that. Hold on. Swalwell wrote in a statement posted to social media that he was aware of the efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote and that was wrong without due process. Oh, okay, so he's fighting that in some kind of way, verbally at least. All right, now here's the part I was looking for. He was removed from the Intel Committee by the then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in 2023 based on his contact with the suspected Chinese spy Christine Fang. Fang was reported to have come into contact with Swalwell's campaign as he was first running for Congress in 2012 and participated in fundraising for his 2014 campaign. Okay. Now, it also says federal investigators alerted Swalwell to their concerns, briefed Congress. This seems like it's overlapping administrations too. Briefed Congress about Fang in 2015, at which point Swalwell says he cut off contact with her. He was not accused of wrongdoing. A House Ethics Committee investigation that was open in 2021 closed 2 years later without any action. Swalwell's plan. Okay, so all right. So let me go back to this now. Let's see here. Misconduct allegations, April 2026. In early April 2026, multiple reports, most notably from the San Francisco Chronicle, CNN, detailed allegations of sexual assault and harassment. Okay, so let's peep this one real quick. Okay, so Democratic. Okay, so the woman. Okay, this is interesting. Damn. Let me see here. The woman who worked for Swalwell said California congressman had sexually assaulted her twice when she was too inebriated to consent, according to a report by the San Francisco Chronicle, which was published on Friday. Damn. 3 other women also accused Swalwell of misconduct. According to CNN, the woman says Swalwell had sent them unsolicited nude photographs of explicit messages. I don't think you're going to say something like that publicly and expect to not get sued if you can't prove that it's true. That's my assessment of that. You know what I'm saying? God damn. I mean, I don't even believe I'm reading this. But of course, still, we're not even in Trump's. We're not even dealing with the type of allegations that are against Trump. Those are like 1,000 times worse. Not trying to belittle these, not trying to belittle them, but I'm just saying, Congress could get together to get ready to expel him, but they couldn't do that about Trump. That's all I'm saying. And again, these are allegations, right? These are not criminal charges. This is not even people gone to the FBI about this. I'm curious. That's another question, because people went to the FBI about Trump. Okay. So, let's see here. Primary allegations. So this might get graphic. So if you're a child listening, I just caught wind of the fact that sometimes kids come here. It's not my intention to have minors in here listening or participating in the chat. So if you're a minor, please don't participate in the chat. Also, you should check with your parents about the content that you're listening to, because the programming is not for kids. All right. So in any case, but if you are a minor and you are participating in the chat, do not contact any people in the chat. Okay, for your own safety. I'm not saying there's people that are bad people. I'm just saying there could be 1 out of 100 that is. So just keep that in mind. It's not safe to speak to adults, and it's not safe to have people contacting you through social media. So in any case, primary allegation: a former female staffer who worked in this Castro Valley office alleged that Swalwell sexually assaulted her on 2 occasions, specifically when she was intoxicated and unable to consent. Additional claims: following the initial report 4 other women came forward to CNN alleging that Swalwell has sent them unwanted explicit messages and nude photos. God damn. It's 4 of them. Okay. Aftermath. Under the immense pressure from both parties, Swalwell suspended his gubernatorial campaign on April 12th and officially announced his resignation from Congress on April 13th. Damn. Happy birthday to me, by the way. Yesterday was my birthday. I didn't announce it to anybody. It's the 13th. So, yeah, I had I had a nice dinner and a nice lunch and things like that. And then later this week, I'm going to go out for a little fancy type of dinner, you know. I don't normally mention these kind of things, but, you know, what the heck. Some of y'all I think are pretty cool, so I'll mention it. This response, Swalwell had denied the serious false allegations of assault, but he issued an apology for mistakes in judgment and sexual transgressions regarding his past behavior with staff. That doesn't sound good. What the hell is that all about? You know, he was cheating on his wife. Is that what that was? It's hard to be I'm sorry, but I just think you shouldn't be. Of course, people's marriages aren't always perfect, and you can't judge people because you never know, you know, how people deal with it or what's going on. But, yeah, man, it's always embarrassing to see people serve the public, but also cheat on their family members, engage in behavior like that. That's interesting. I don't know if he is, but that's what seems to be the allegation, right? The Fang controversy, 2011, 2015. This is an older allegation that has resurfaced in 2026 due to the recent scandal. The target between 2011 and 15, Chinese national named Christy Fang. Okay. Reportedly targeted up and coming Bay Area politicians as part of a Chinese intelligence operation. So what did she do? Did she offer him sex or something? Or was it just a friendship? Or I'm curious about that. The ties, Fang helped fundraise. Okay. 2014 campaign helped place an intern in his office. Okay. Government findings in 2015, the FBI gave Swalwell a defensive briefing. They gave him a defensive briefing, huh? After which he immediately cut ties with her. Okay, 2020-23, House Ethics Committee. Okay, so investigation concluded. So that just concluded 3 years ago without taking any action, as there was no evidence he shared classified information or committed wrongdoing. Okay, just prior to the current assault allegations, the FBI under Kash Patel reportedly considered releasing the full investigative file on the Fang matter. Swalwell's lawyers characterized this as a politically motivated smear and derail his run for governor. But see, here's the thing. That's why you don't want to have you don't want to have bad things. You don't want to have this stuff in your background because it will stop your political aspirations. It could stop other things too. So, behave. Try your best to behave, especially when you're in the spotlight, you know what I mean? And it has consequence to other people. You might want to think about that. Current legal status, House Ethics Committee. An investigation was officially open on April 13th, 2026 to scrutinize. Damn, they've been busy on my damn birthday, boy. Criminal investigations. Manhattan DNA office also has reportedly begun an inquiry into sexual assault allegations. Okay, so they're looking at it criminally. Damn, this dude looks like he might be. I told you, man. He might be in jeopardy. Well, yeah, and I'm sad. I'm sorry, man, but men need to learn. Women, everyone needs to learn from this, but men need to learn from this, man. You fuck up so much. I say it all the time. Keep your dick in your pants, man. Like, don't blow everything just because you can't control yourself, man. You have to know, and everybody has to think about this. You have to know, first of all, sadly enough, you definitely don't want to be told that you've been sexually harassing somebody at your job. you don't want to be accused of rape either. And so, you also don't want to be accused of cheating on your wife, or caught cheating on your wife. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just like, I get tired. It's sad when you see men go out like this. It is really, because it just seems to just keep happening. And when you see this guy, when I look at this guy, it's just like I've been looking at him on all types of news programs and shit, talking about many different topics, and yet he gets caught up. Yo, dude, this is not good. This is not good. I know Trump is this made all the foul shit that happened to Trump, all the failures that's been going on with Trump. I guarantee you, this has made his day. He got a little chuckle out of this. This is kind of like, yeah. In any case, let me hear a little more of this. Oh my God! Hold on, the next one. Screw that. Let me see what else is going on here. My goodness.
Let's go.
Sometimes I just wonder, man, is it really hard? Take care of yourself, guys. Take care of yourself. There's a proper place and a time for everything, and you got to learn that, because and also there's also something called wrong. And rape is wrong, dude. There's no proper place and time for rape. What the hell? But I just mean like other things, even for just guys that aren't married, even for guys that aren't involved in rape, just the professionalism is necessary. Professionalism is necessary at work. You know what I mean? And in these situations, because this was at work. This guy's talking about dealing with staffers and shit, people that work for him, subordinates. Can you believe this? It just says something about who you are and what you're doing, man, for real.
Gonzalez
and I'm not saying it says everything about who you are, but damn, man, it says a little.
Yeah, this has been a scandal that has engulfed this congressman for several weeks in the aftermath of revelations that he had an extramarital affair with his aide. That aide later died by suicide. Initially, Tony Gonzalez had denied having any sort of...
So him too? Damn! So there's another Republican. Oh my goodness. So it's not just the Democrat, it's the Republican. Okay. Is he? Yeah, he must be.
Extramarital affair, but as the allegations were mounting, he admitted to that. Then he decided not to run for re-election, and he indicated repeatedly that he would not resign his seat from the House. But moments after the decision by Eric Swalwell, caught up in a separate sexual misconduct scandal, Gonzalez himself making the decision to resign following Eric Swalwell's decision to resign. Gonzalez himself saying he will step down from Congress, saying on X, there's a season for everything and God has a plan for us all. When Congress returns tomorrow, I will file my retirement from office. It has been my privilege to serve the great people of Texas. Now, the decision by both Gonzalez and Swalwell has a couple of key ramifications, one of which is that they both can avoid a House ethics probe. Both men were facing an investigation, but now that members are no longer serving in the House, that committee, the Ethics Committee, no longer has jurisdiction over those members, and expect that those investigations essentially to go away. Also, both men were facing expulsion votes in the United States House. That potentially could have succeeded. It would have required 2/3 majority in the United States House to go ahead, and both of those members clearly looking to avoid that possibility here. But Gonzalez had decided to stay on as a result of perhaps the Republican leadership not calling on him to step aside, because Anderson, as you know, this is the narrowest of majorities in the United States House. Had Eric Swalwell still been a member of Congress and Gonzalez had resigned, Johnson would have zero margin for error. He could not afford a single defection in the United States House. But now that Eric Swalwell has resigned and Gonzalez plans to do the same, that means that Johnson can still afford to lose one Republican vote on a party line vote, which shows you how every seat is so critical in the narrowly divided Republican House.
Maharaju, thanks very much. Were you surprised by this?
Yo, Harbo Nip, what's going on, man? I see you say you're going to exit peacefully. What's happening here? Okay, maybe I shouldn't be here. What's going on? Nightbot. What happened? No, that was the Nightbot. Harbonip message deleted by. Yeah, Harbonip. I don't see what it's the Nightbot. It's the AI timing you out. I don't know what that's about. It's not me though, but I can see on the screen here. Let me show everybody, just so Harbonip, so you also know. It's the Nightbot. Here, check this out. It's not actually anybody. It's not any of the mods. You see that? It says Harbonip was. Oh, you can't see it. It says Harbonip was timed out by Nightbot. That's my AI. It's an AI program that helps certain words might get blocked. And here it is again. You see Nightbot. Yeah, this is Nightbot doing that. So Harbonip, I don't know what it is, what word you're using. This and Ed Thornton also got blocked. So I don't know what conversation y'all having, but it's the Nightbot that's blocking it. So just so you both know, it's not even me. I'm not even looking at. I wasn't looking at the chat really.
Honestly, with great power comes great responsibility.
But if you and Edward have an issue, I would suggest y'all, handle it like adults. Yeah, and reasonably. But yeah, I don't know what that's about. But that's a Nightbot. That's not me. That's not anybody else chiming you out. Or Edward. That was the AI doing it, the program. So.
Right, and so if you are in a position of power and you utilize that power in a way that sexual assault becomes a thing, it's just not appropriate. And a serious investigation needs to take place in something like this. It needs to be thoroughly investigated, and I think that's what's going to exactly happen.
Sure, Michael. Tony Gonzalez, this has been going on for a while. It seems like Swalwell announcing is what made it. I don't know if it's made it possible for him.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, I'll be the last person to try to defend anybody of this. It's pointless. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's problematic. It's very simple because listen, there's a lot of these people take up space, and these are elected officials, and we're not supposed to worship elected officials. They're supposed to be our representatives. That's it. They're supposed to go to work. They get good salaries. Their salaries are paid for by the American people. Their kids are getting taken care of by the American people. Their spouses are getting taken care of by the American people. Pretty much, they get paid good salaries, right? And they're expected to behave themselves and do their jobs for the American people. All this extra shit shows you that no, there's something flawed there. There's something flawed. You're not there to have a good time. You're not there to party. You're not there to meet a new girlfriend. You're not there to live it up. That's not what it's for. And apparently this just shows you we got to do better, and we got to get more serious people. I would chalk it up and say seriousness, because they get health care from the American people. Exactly. Eve, yeah, appreciate that. I just don't understand it. There's 350 million Americans, and we're not electing serious enough people. We're just not electing serious enough people, man. And this is just another example of it. And you may regardless of whatever their politics are, they had opposing politics, obviously, right? But their politics should not matter. It has nothing to do with their character flaw. These people have character flaws. And I'm just going to keep it real. They don't know how to be professional in this regard when it comes to their sexual behavior. That's basically what it is. Their character is off. You know what I mean? And I feel sorry to witness that, to see it, because it just lets you know a lot of women have to deal with this, right? And it has nothing to do with you. This is way beyond the pale what these men are accused of. You know what I'm saying? It's way beyond the pale. So yeah. See, I just don't want to make any type of thing sound silly. But what they're accused of is not small shit. They're accused of sexual assault, man. Can you get out? Like, seriously. So, yeah. What's going to happen? Yeah, what's going to happen, man? Let's see how Congress is going to deal with this shit, though. Talk a bunch of bullshit. Again, like I said, they moved swiftly, apparently, or in some way to do something about this. But at the end of the day, Trump is still there. What they going to do about him? What Congress and the Senate going to do about Trump? Trump is basically 1,000 times worse than either one of these dudes from what we hear so far, allegedly. Trump has complaints against him. The complaints are ugly. Somehow he's the president.
I'm saying this as a conservative.
Congress wants to remove these people, but they don't want to remove Trump. So there's hypocrisy in it. For whatever action they take against this is taken away. The seriousness of it is also taken away by the fact that they won't take it serious with Trump. It's just simple.
I don't look at this as a right or a left thing. I have a 1-year-old daughter now. And to me, when I think about powerful men doing things against women who are subordinate to them, who can't really defend themselves, who may be afraid to speak up because they don't want to lose their jobs, and then our elected officials on both sides had an opportunity to say, you know what, we're not going to stand for this anymore. We're going to disclose the names. We're no longer going to pay out to protect powerful people. And they decided to bury it. Just imagine that, Anderson. In what universe would they...
Yeah, they decided to bury it. That's true. That's true. They buried it for a minute, but they've been burying all this shit.
Moral society say that is acceptable, that is okay.
It's bizarre to me, Chris. I mean, the behavior, obviously, if the allegations are true against Representative Swalwell, there are legal ramifications. For Congressman, for the Republican congressman, the arrogance that he thought,
the power and control felt by those elected to serve the people, and it's a very slick thing too. It's a very subtle thing that I think just takes over. People forget what they're there for. It's sad to watch people crumble like that, but men, just know that you can. That I don't even want to say it. Listen, just be professional, man. Just be fucking professional, man. Just be professional. That's all. It shouldn't be a big deal. Shouldn't be a big deal to ask.
Text messages that he was sending, the pressure he was allegedly putting on the woman who ended up dying by suicide, and perhaps others, or at least another. It's shocking that he thought that was acceptable. I mean, in this day and age, asking somebody you are working with repeatedly for naked photographs and pressuring them to have sexual relations with you.
And listen, just the way they phrased this on CNN, listen to the phrasing. This is what tells you they have evidence that proves it. Listen to this, because they wouldn't have even phrased it this way. They would be getting sued if they weren't able to easily back that up. I mean, most of these networks can back up everything they're saying anyway. But listen to this. Listen.
That was acceptable. I mean, in this day and age, asking somebody you are working with repeatedly for naked photographs and pressuring them to have sexual relations with you, it's what planet is that person living on?
In any place, in any work.
Exactly. Just the way they phrased it, it leads people to believe that it's concrete. So I don't believe they would say that without having some kind of understanding that maybe those pictures exist. That's the accusation about him sending naked pictures of himself naked. Man, what is going on?
Was acceptable. I mean,
what the hell?
That he thought, if the text messages that he was sending, the pressure he was allegedly putting on the woman who ended up dying by suicide, and perhaps other
women die by suicide. Oh shit! Maybe somebody ought to look into that, because that sounds very familiar.
Others, or at least another. It's shocking that he thought that was acceptable. I mean, in this day and age, asking somebody you are working with repeatedly for naked photographs and pressuring them to have sex.
Oh, asking them for naked photographs. Okay. And so that must be in text. They must have that. Yeah.
Sexual relations with you. It's what planet is that person living on?
In any place, in a work environment, I mean, I am an actual equal opportunity representative in the military, in the Army with my unit. And we discuss situations like this all the time. And doing something like this to people that are subordinate to you or just even that work with you in a work environment.
It's two people they're talking about here. It's not one. It's one Republican here. It's Gonzalez. He also, and Eric Swalwell. Tony Gonzalez and Eric Swalwell both stepped down due to, these kind of claims. So it's one Republican, one Democrat,
environment just makes it so uncomfortable, and it's totally not accepted. It's definitely not accepted in the military. We fight it through and through. It's not accepted in any workplace at all.
What's up, Jen?
And especially a member of Congress who has such power and ruling over things that occur in this country. To have this happen in Congress is just completely unacceptable.
Sure, Michael, do you think GOP leaders should have asked Gonzalez to take this step earlier? I mean, obviously,
absolutely.
There would have been, balance of power implications, I assume, but he's been hanging on.
Sure, but Anderson, who cares respectfully about balance of power? I'm not saying this to you, but I'm just saying broadly speaking. Who cares when you have a member amongst your ranks who have clearly violated?
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true. That was bullshit. The Republicans, they swept it under the rug. That's so true. But I mean, for me right now, I don't think this is the important conversation. I don't know. Is that what he's trying to say? This guy, but to me, it just doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What matters is that now it's out in the public. Everyone's clear. These dudes got to go, period. And that's it. And that behavior, more women, if more women working in Congress had these experiences, they need to speak up right now, period. Don't take this shit because, look, they're just going to keep coming and taking more from you. Look, you see how many rights they already came and took and take away from women? They don't want you to have child care. So if you are a conservative woman that does have a family, that does get married, or at least has kids, whatever, they're not going to support you in that. Then they want to outlaw you to be able to control your own body, tell you when you can have an abortion or not, right? They want to do that. Some states, they want to force you to have the baby of a rapist, like flat out right now in the law, right? So, and then now, then there's this other thing about rape at the workplace, assault, harassment in the workplace. So listen, women, y'all going to have to stand up for yourselves because nothing else is coming any other way. Like, it's already bad for women, like straight up, and unless you want it to get worse, you need to speak up for yourselves, Yeah, it's actually sad, man. I can't even believe I'm watching this shit from Swalwell or this Gonzalez guy.
What I presume should be an ethical or moral principle of conservatives, but hell, any decent person. Who cares if you lose a vote? You shouldn't want people like that amongst your ranks. And to me, as a Christian, do I put my political values above my moral and spiritual ones? Of course not. And my expectation is that our leaders on both sides should not do the same. And what I'm worried about, Anderson, is a month from now, 2 months from now, we will have moved on. We'll be on to the next story. But what about the young staff women who have to carry this shame, this predatory behavior with them for the rest of their lives that they will never get over? They'll never get their justice. They'll never get their due day in court because we've buried it. We've moved on. And that's something that Congress continues to perpetuate. And to me, I think we have to keep focused on this to make sure that it doesn't continue because these guys going away doesn't stop this. It merely says, well, we'll pay attention to them. We'll make sure this never happens again. But you're still going to keep paying out? You won't disclose all of the other members who've done similar things? Why not? Why not let us know?
Oh, that's what it is. So they're hiding other members that are making payments out to other women currently. Is that what it is? Hold on. That is crazy. That is crazy. Hold on. Are there members of Congress who have women being paid on behalf of them regarding allegations of sexual assault. Let me just see this. I didn't even realize that. Damn. So now I understand. Listen, this is what he's talking about, y'all. This is crazy. This is insane. Look at this. Can I pull this up right here? Yes. The use of taxpayer. This is taxpayer funds. Taxpayer funds, yo. The use of taxpayer funds to pay settlements for sexual harassment and misconduct allegations against members of Congress has been a significant and ongoing controversy, particularly in early 2026. Here's the breakdown of how these payments work and the current efforts to expose them. The slush fund. The slush fund, the Treasury settlement account. Historically, settlements for claims of sexual harassment, discrimination, and other workplace violations in Congress have been paid out of a little-known account within the Treasury Department, often referred to as by critics as a slush fund. Total amount. Reports in early 2026 indicate that Congress has paid out more than $17 million in taxpayer dollars to settle various workplace claims since the 1990s. Secrecy. Under the Congressional Accountability Act of 1995, was Reagan the president then? Or was it Clinton? Yeah, let me know. I think that was Reagan still then. Okay. Accountability Act of 1995. These settlements were largely kept private, and the names of the members of Congress involved were not disclosed to the public. So this is what he's talking about. So that's excellent reporting. He got that in. I like that. Let me go back now and replay this so people can hear it again.
Political values above.
Here we go.
When you have a member amongst your ranks who have clearly violated what I presume should be an ethical or moral principle of conservatives, but hell, any decent person, who cares if you lose a vote? You shouldn't want people like that amongst your ranks. And to me, as a Christian, do I put my political values above my moral and spiritual ones? Of course not. And my expectation is that our leaders on both sides should not do the same. And what I'm worried about, Anderson, is a month from now, 2 months from now, we will have moved on. We'll be on to the next story. But what about the young staff women who have to carry this shame, this predatory behavior with them for the rest of their lives that they will never get over? They'll never get their justice. They'll never get their due day in court because we've buried it. We've moved on, and that's something that Congress continues to perpetuate. And to me, I think we have to keep focused on this to make sure that it doesn't continue, because these guys going away doesn't stop this. It merely says, well, we'll pay attention to them. We'll make sure this never happens again. But you're still going to keep paying out? You won't disclose all of the other members who've done similar things? Why not? Why not let us know who all of them were and currently are? Maybe some of them may still even be there. And we have no clue because we have two individuals that both parties are somewhat sacrificing. That, to me, again, is unacceptable.
Chris, you're running.
Yo, he spoke some facts right there. Now, let me see. Is there more to this recent legislative action? April 20, blah, blah, blah. In March 2026, the House of Representatives saw a major push for transparency regarding these payments. I guess that's what he's talking about. It's not really enough. The vote to reveal names on March 5th, 2026, a privileged resolution was brought to the floor to force the disclosure of names of all members of Congress, right? And let's see here, of all members of Congress who have used taxpayer funds to resolve sexual harassment claims. The outcome, the resolution was controversial. While some members like Representative Nick Langworthy pushed for full public transparency, the majority of the House, 357 members, voted to refer the matter to the House Ethics Committee rather than releasing the names immediately. This move was criticized by transparency advocates as a way to keep the identities of the accused members concealed from the public. Current reform, 826 HR, a bill was introduced in late March 2026 to amend the Congressional Accountability Act. If passed, it would require members to personally reimburse the Treasury for any settlement amounts paid due to their own personal conduct. Okay. High profile allegations. While the slush fund list remains largely non-public, specific allegations against individual members have dominated the news cycle. Eric Swalwell, is he one of them? Okay. Is that he's been making payments already? I guess he is on that list. Okay. Hold on. Not confirmed payout yet. Okay, so he maybe not. Okay, let me see here. Congress following allegations of sexual assault and the sending of unsolicited explicit photographs. So he did send photographs too. So he was requesting them and sending them apparently, from what has been said and what we've read. But we heard one allegation being recited in the video on CNN, and then we read these other ones. So let's see here. Payments being made. Yes, the Treasury frequently pays settlements for workplace violations, which includes sexual harassment. It is public. Is it public? Generally, no. The identities of the members are protected unless they are leaked or the member is forced to disclose them through a specific ethics committee report. Who pays? Currently, the taxpayers. Usually pays through 2026 legislation as an attempt to shift. Okay, so the taxpayers pay. I mean, this is just more American shit right here, boy. I swear. This is where the corruption is, and that's just how things are going to work until people decide they want them to be differently. And by the way, you can do that if you participate in voting. 80 million people refused to fucking vote in the last election. Presidential election, even though their asses depend on it. Hopefully they will decide to clean up some of this stuff. But so far, I mean, it looks like that could be happening in America, but you just never know. You never know. Maybe they get close, but just don't follow through. Right? Yeah, you never know. But that is so trippy. But let me see here. There was one other thing I wanted to cover here, and here we go. Marjorie Greene Taylor. Yes, she is in full effect once again. And I don't normally cheer for her because after all, she's one of these people that brought the mess of what we call Donald Trump into existence. But, for what it's worth, she has been on his ass since she got dissed, I guess, publicly. So something like that. But in any case, let's hear what she has to say about this matter.
A sign of just how far-reaching the criticism of the president has become. My first two sources are talking about the idea of working together. Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I have to ask you if you believe that the president thought he was depicting himself as a doctor, not Jesus, in that post.
No, absolutely not. I thought that was blasphemy. As a Christian, I was very offended. And a doctor, President Trump is not a doctor. And
this is so funny, though. She says, as a Christian, I was very offended. It's like, I'm sorry, man. I don't know. Is that true? Were Christians offended by this? Like, because I don't know. Maybe Christians were, but I just somehow don't buy it when she says that, because of course it is convenient to be offended when you're a politician, but or in the public space, right? You get paid money from your public persona, which Marjorie Greene Taylor does. But let's hear some more.
And a doctor, President Trump is not a doctor. And that picture had him in a robe, as Jesus is often portrayed, with light coming out of his hands. And he talked about healing people like a Red Cross.
Here we are. Here's the Jesus picture. Wow. I mean, this is really, really interesting. Is this offensive or is this just fucking stupid as hell? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know it's offensive to some people, but is it? I mean, is this what could this be characterized as? Is this is it illegal? Is it hate speech? What is this? Look at this dumb shit. I'm sorry, I wasn't offended because this is pure pure stupidity. This is MAGA. This is MAGA. Why be ashamed of it? Let's show your ass. Show people who you really are. This is your president. This is the person you elected. Why am I supposed to be offended when you elect a motherfucking idiot? Okay? I want you to, let people see how dumb you are. This is how dumb fucking Americans are. They elected a man who does this. Like, for real. And you have to pay for this. Through just showing the reality, not covering it up. I'm not making it any worse than it already is. I'm not, look, I'm not embellishing. I'm not embellishing. This is who they fucking elected. This moron. I wish I was fucking embellishing, but I'm not. This is reality, y'all. God damn. This is who they elected. Put a 1 in the chat if you voted for this motherfucker. Please. And put a 2 in the chat if the answer is, oh, hell goddamn no. I did not vote for this. You're not seeing a reflection of who I am. You're seeing a reflection of Trump voters. This is who they are. This is what they are. This is just how pathetic they are. And keep in mind, right wing in Europe, for you right wingers in Europe, right, that believe in universal health care, that believe in universal education for your people, right? You right wingers in Europe, just understand the same people that elected this, they're too stupid to even want universal health care and education for their own people too. So they're even worse. They're even worse. They're even more stupid. You see what I'm saying? Like, not only do the right wingers in the U.S. not want universal health care and education, but this is what they also want. This dumb shit. You see what I mean? And now Marjorie Greene Taylor is trying to act like she wasn't a part of the scam to elect this motherfucker. Come on. If she didn't know he was a scammer, what's wrong with her? I knew he was a scammer. What's wrong with her? Like, seriously, until she addresses that, I don't know why anyone would trust her, because use her. Yeah, of course, we're going to use her. We have her here for our purposes. She will diss Trump and anyone else who still co-signs for him, that we can use her for. But let's be honest. So you got to have something missing. I want her to explain what made her vote for this guy at all in any case. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Me as a Christian, I was very offended. And a doctor, President Trump is not a doctor.
Very offended.
And that picture had him in a robe as Jesus
oh no, I'm
often
sorry.
portrayed.
I'm sorry. As a Christian, she was very offended, right? That's what she said, right? But what about all the other unchristianly things Trump has fucking done? What about all the other things? Was she offended? Was she offended by ICE? What was she offended by? What was she offended by, really? What was it what was she offended by here that she wasn't offended by with all the other nasty shit Trump has done? I mean, she's like, as a Christian person, I was okay. Yeah, nothing attached to your Christianity with anything else you're doing. It's
and a doctor, President Trump is not a doctor. And that picture had him in a robe.
I would hope it's against Christianity to be ignorant. I would hope. You know what I'm saying? I would hope it.
As Jesus is often portrayed with light coming out of his hands. And he talked about healing people like a Red Cross worker. I think there would be many people that would argue with that, saving lives. So I think would argue with that. Picture had him in a robe as Jesus is often portrayed with light coming out of his hands. And he talked about healing people like a Red Cross worker. I think there would be many people that would argue with that, saving lives. So I think it was blasphemy. I was.
He went ahead to threaten the Pope also. I mean, what about that? You know, I mean, I don't know. This is who we are. I'm not running away from it. I pay careful attention to how people phrase things and how people spend their time on social media to establish their principles and their ethics. You know what I mean? In their sense of morals, right? What they care about. And, you know, I can read into a lot of behavior, you know, without rushing into it. But I think right now what we're going to see is a lot of Americans try to find a way to get around the fact that they voted for this moron without addressing it. Without really addressing what was wrong with them. Where were their critical errors? What was wrong with them that they could not see the flaws in him? I think it's important for people to explain that, you know, for them to get through it. It's like AA meeting, you know what I'm saying? Even though I've never been to one, but I can presume, you know, I've seen them on TV and commercials and shit. I mean, in movies, people sit around and do their confessionals and talk about how they came to pick up the bottle again, or drug anonymous, you know, meeting, this kind of stuff. You usually have to talk about what got you there. What put you in that situation? This is what MAGA people need to do. They need a MAGA anonymous fucking organization where they sit down with a fucking counselor and talk to each other in circles, right? Because they elected this fool. They elected. I ain't got shit to explain. I didn't vote for this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I don't have shit to explain. It's them who have the explaining to do. What the hell? What the hell? Look, and what's so beautiful about this is that you would think that, okay, you know, if it gets bad, people will recognize it, you know, and they will change. And no, Trump is going to fucking continue to do more silly shit like this. He's going to keep bringing it to you, man. And so there's really no escape. You know what I mean? If you're thinking about, you know, escaping, like, your, what do you call it, accountability, you're not, man, because Trump is going all the way there. He's going all the way there. This man is not going to stop. Not voluntarily. He's not going to stop voluntarily. You voted for a madman. And that's exactly what you're going to get. And you're going to be accountable, because, and don't run away from accountability, because accountability makes your rewards greater. It makes your gifts greater. It makes your, you know, what you get back greater. You see what I mean? The reward for being accountable it can be great. But when you try to, you know, slide through accountability and not really work with yourself and deal with the issue, nah, the United States ain't going nowhere if these people just fuck around. Yeah, MAGA anonymous. If these people just fuck around and don't actually deal with themselves and really try to figure out what was wrong with them that they couldn't see the signs in this fool, the United States ain't going nowhere. That's the key to going somewhere, is recognizing how the fuck did we get this motherfucker as president, and how did anybody goddamn vote for him. And those two groups those two things need to be known. There needs to be reports. There needs to be participation. It needs to be grassroots. It needs to be anthropology done on this shit. There needs to be fucking anthropology. You know, don't even let them know you're studying them. Just go and take notes and write it down in a book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, syphilis of the brain and shit. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. This is their president right here. Lord and Savior, Donald J. Trump. Bow down your heads, everybody. We're about to pray. We're going to pray to the MAGA Lord. Okay? Their God. Okay? All right? Everybody bow your head. Please get a motherfucking brain Amen. Okay, now let's continue.
Was offended. I think he should apologize, not act defensive. And many Christians across America and the world were very offended by that.
And Congressman Khanna, when you look at this, that post came after the Pope had said that he wanted peace in Iran, peace in the world. The president obviously viewed that as criticism and said that he was weak on crime. Do you understand why the president is engaging in this attack on the Pope that he says he won't apologize for?
Running a faceless YouTube channel?
I'm reading the comments. I'm sorry. Y'all funny as hell, man. Let me see here. That's a dog with rabies going around biting people and shit. Seems like a lot of MAGAs are ditching these hats finally. Yeah. Well, they better, like I said, they better go to that MAGA Anonymous program too, because it ain't going to be enough. Just ditching the hats. No, you're going to have to do some personal work. You're going to have to, you got to have to go there and sit around in meetings with circles and shit, talking about why you couldn't just, what made you do it? You wanted to do the right thing, but you just couldn't. Yeah. It's something about his voice that just had you believe in him again. You know what I mean? It's like, are these people like into abuse? Because they certainly seem to like being abused. That's what I noticed about Trump. He talks down to people. And I think a lot of people that resonated with a lot of people, like being talked down to and talking down to others. There's something there, you know. And of course, abusive people do usually talk down to people. You know what I'm saying? So that tells you a lot about it. Like maybe that's the common denominator: abusive relationships, abusive lifestyles. And and you think about it, how they think about woke, like, you know, the terms that they think of woke in, not too bright. But in any case, folks, thanks again for showing up. I'm going to end this with where I started. J.D. Vance punk ass went over there to Hungary to support. It's unprecedented, but to support Viktor Orban in his re-election campaign. Viktor Orban is the right wing president of right wing fascist president, by the way, but right wing president of Hungary, right? He's now been replaced. He lost the election. But legacy media didn't point out the fact that even though Viktor Orban is right wing, actually he still supports for his people in his country universal health care and universal education, flat out. And J.D. Vance went there to support this man. Why didn't legacy media call him out, ask, do stories on, oh, you like socialists already? You like going to socialist countries? You like countries and candidates that support universal health care and universal education? Well, how come you don't support it in the U.S.? That would be the obvious question. But none of them did it. So I just want you to keep that in mind. And it could be because they get the tax breaks. Think about that. They got all those Trump tax breaks. You see what I mean? So they may not be in a hurry to point that out to people, and draw the correlation. And but then again, that's where I come in. I haven't seen. I'm pretty sure I'm the first person that's podcasting that's on YouTube, and I'm talking about out of many podcasters, all of my favorites too. Midas Touch, whoever else associated. I think I was the one who just brought this issue up. I'm the first who drew the correlation publicly and have gone public with it. And I think more Americans need to do that because we tend to slip on those parts, but there's a lot of media. There's a lot of things to cover and we all don't think about it. But I think about it because I'm an American citizen, born and raised in Washington, D.C. Family goes back on both sides of my family goes back to the colonial periods. But as a grown ass man, I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. So I have universal health care here, like all Danes and all other people that live here. I have access and my kids to universal education like all people that live here. You see, so I think about that. I draw that correlation. I thought immediately, and I've been doing this story for a minute. I've been telling American citizens, listen, actually, right-wing governments across Europe, they support universal education and universal health care. Why do Americans on the right wing do that? And I've been saying that, what's going on? But I know that Americans don't talk about this enough. So we don't pointed at. It doesn't pop out of our brain, those questions, And so the thing about it is that right wingers in the United States of America, here's the last revelation. Right wingers in the United States of America are the lowest of the low, because they're broke pretty much, and their president doesn't even give a fuck about their health care or education. Like, he doesn't even believe in it, So the right wingers in every other place, their own presidents believe in that everyone should have every citizen should have universal health care and universal education. But not in America. So the right wingers in Europe can be right wingers and not think about health care or education. But not in America. You motherfuckers better go to work and pay the taxes and not get shit for it. I mean, so I just wanted to end on that note. I appreciate everybody. Yeah, you got to keep it light sometimes. And, what the fuck? Yes, the lowest of the low. The lowest of the low, man. Whoosh. If you need me to whip you on the back, I'll do that too. If that's what you're into. Peace, y'all. I appreciate y'all. One.
She's brown skin, Eritrean. Love
every second of the time that we spend with good friends. There's no need to attend. The way she walks and moves her hips, those cool curves, I just love to kiss. It's Sunday morning, make her breakfast in bed, bring her a latte and chill up in the spread, and represents all the thoughts in my head.
The comforter of my life.
You know what? She may not know it. I want her to be my wife.
It was my finest wish to stay the night.
She's doing fine on her own, about to buy a home. Peace, y'all.
I'm working out some shit, but I've grown. I'm working
Release the Epstein files. Fuck Trump.
On my music so we can have a life outside of the system and the bright lights.
Click the like button. Subscribe.
When I'm hungry, caress me on my body. It feels lovely. A lot of pain that I took on in my life.
I need you to make it right. The feelings I'm feeling is real in my life. I know it's want you to be my wife. All I really know is that
you treat me right. I wanna make love tonight. The feelings I'm feeling is real in my life. I know you're something special. Want you to be my wife. All I need to know is when you treat me right. I wanna make love tonight. Brown eyes, caramel skin,
beautiful face. Where do I begin?
Your hips,
they keep making me excited.
Your breasts, just how I like it. If you're the key to my life, then will you be there for me? All I'm asking is, will you trust in me? It's complicated, but I wanna do it right. If we keep true to the love, we can make life. Your destiny is to be with me. I'm waiting for you to be one with me. Your soulmate, I would do anything for you. Baby girl, it's you I adore. Word life, you are my life. I won't deal with nothing that's strife. We're gonna spend all our time together, me and you, girl, forever. The feelings I'm feeling is real in my life. I know you're something special, want you to be my wife. All I need to know is when you treat me right. I wanna make love tonight. The feelings I'm feeling is real in my life. I know you're something special, want you to be my wife. All I need to know is when you treat me right. I wanna make love tonight. Love tonight. place we call Earth. Love from conception, from your mom, your birth. Pops planted the seed in the turf. From there, you must find out what life is worth. Grew up learning your do's and don'ts. Before working on your motor skills, working on your coordination, right? And orientation to what you like. The brand new thing, so gentle the soul we're capturing. In this distance, the alphabets the kids sing. They celebrate when it's time to go outside. As you get older, you learn to let all the troubles in your life just glide away. Stay focused, keep it smooth, keep you cool. Things in life can make it get rude. If you let it, don't let it. 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 If you let it, let it, let it, what? If you let it, don't let it, let it. If you let it, what? Don't let it. If you let it, don't let it, let it. Don't let it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it.